the Kardashian family has been accused many times of appropriating black beauty standards. Some have darkened their skin, filled in their lips, and may have had surgical enhancements to give them the illusion of black features. This can be seen as part of the larger phenomenon of blackfishing, where people on social media make themselves look black to attract lucrative endorsements. Do you think this is a fair criticism? Do you think it even matters if it's true? Are the Kardashians any sort of problem within the black community? Is it an issue that people who aren't black commercialize our features? So yeah, we talked about blackfishing a long time ago on this channel, but you'll see it in social media. These people that seem either black or, you know, very much brown, very much quote unquote exotic, which is the look that they're going for, right? Some sort of mix that they're applying. But then you look farther back in the social media, you realize like that's all makeup. It's all makeup. They are lily white, right? And like the difference is like stark. But they do these things. They put on this like these black features, and for some of them they get paid. They get paid for that, you know, to get like endorsements and all that stuff. So are the Kardashians, are they engaging in this? And if so, is it a problem? You know, like yeah, what are your thoughts? So let's start with opening Black American Made.
The Kardashians are a huge problem. Absolutely. Like because what they do, they didn't really start this trend, but they've exasperated on this concept of being able to get all of the blackness you want without having to buy into like the parts of blackness you don't. Like, I don't really want that. But the fact that that they call them box braids, Kylie Jenner braids had me sick to my stomach. Like all of these, I just think that the fact that they become multi-millionaires, like with no talent, all from like exasperating on this concept of acting like black women well, not acting like black women, but putting on this black aesthetic for television in like a bougie cover up is disgusting. And yeah, I'm actually disappointed that there's not like, I wish it was like black women that could speak more directly to this, but this is a huge problem. That's it.
All right, G.
I would say that when it comes to altering your body in order to qualify as blackfishing or appropriating black culture, other than obviously renaming something that already existed, like from braids to like box braids, like I think that's obviously cultural appropriation. Just like I saw it on this news, I don't know if you guys saw, but this white high school kid or on a football or cheer team, he called the drop the T-Rex, and so that's obvious example of cultural appropriation. So other than that, I think like intent, right? So it's like you could say that somebody like getting a bigger butt is blackfishing, but it's like only if they think that it would make them black. I'm doing this because I want to look black, right? I think that's blackfishing. But if they're like, hey, I think a bigger butt is sexier, I just think it looks better, I think men will find me more attractive, whatever your reason is, other than I want to look black, then I don't think it's blackfishing. So the act, right? The act itself, other people can view it as something other, but I think in order for us to qualify it as, you know, cultural appropriation or blackfishing, we have to look at the intent, right? So that's my point.
Be more.
Time for this shit. This is not a big issue. Come on, Bam. Look, Robert Kardashian got famous for fucking defending a black dude in court. Oh, I'm not black emoji. I get it, okay? Kim Kardashian legit went to the White House to advocate for clemency and pardons for Crystal Munoz, Alice Johnson, and another woman, all black women, right? Kim Kardashian got famous for sucking a black dude's dick. It was a mediocre job, but hey, she did it. The entire family loves black people. They love black people. Look, it's like, I don't get what the fuck is going on. And look, here's the thing, right? Here's my root issue. My root issue is we have a community of racist ass motherfuckers out there, right? And this the shit I gotta be mad about? This the shit? A group of women who do nothing but fuck black dudes go to the White House to fight for clemency for black people. Please, I have bigger fish to fry than this shit right here.
Wow. All right. You can always rely on Be More, man. So you know what? No, I'm saving him. Well, we'll hit him at last. Azzy, you're next.
Oh,
So-
shit.
And
That was
Django, we can
really-
hear
that-
you typing, I think. So if you could, yeah, go ahead, Azzy.
BMO really threw me for a loop. That was like, I almost forgot what I was gonna say. I feel like to be able to profit of something that when it's readily available on the original, but the original is still ugly for having it. There's a huge problem there, and it really is like it's akin to a sickness. Like all of a sudden it's attractive when it's on these white passing people, and like I said, it's ugly on black people. That's a huge problem. That's a social problem that leads to racism throughout all our systems. So yeah, it's something that needs to be dealt with, and it needs to be called out because it leads to a ton of gatekeeping. There's plenty of people who look just as good but will never have attained the success of the Kardashians. Yes, they had prior engagements in the media that made them popular, but I think people need to be a little bit more intrinsic or just look a little deeper and then understand that what they're doing is heavily problematic, and it's adding to a system of racism and prejudice.
Django.
Got the unmute. All right. I'm gonna probably have to stick with Be More a little bit on this because it's not really that big of an issue. I understand the thing that I kind of focus on here is that it is taking some profits away, some potential profits from people who have to live in the same skin that is now being idealized, which I could see that being as a little unfair, but the majority of this is kind of in a weird place. So if we're talking about like, hey, these people, they're not really a part of the culture. Well, let's say like we have a black kid adopted into a white family. And if they decide to do all this on Instagram and they get famous because of it, well, are they a part of it? Because maybe they're not a part of black culture, right? Is this person now not allowed to do this because of the culture that they grew up in? Or like, I guess I don't really understand where we're trying to draw the line between who's allowed to do this and for what reason. To a point where it becomes like really harmful, like we're saying it is. Because if it's true that we're looking at these people and they're attractive because they were white and now they're not white, then that would be one thing. But people don't know that they're not white. That's the whole gimmick of it. People think that they're black. So it's not really that we're looking at them being like, oh, well, if you're actually black, that's disgusting. But since you're not really black, that's cool. That's not really what's happening.
Let's go to Smooth.
Okay, so I'm gonna agree with Be More and Django here that it's not that big of a deal because there could be positives that come from it. Like for instance, by the Kardashians wearing that hairstyle, it becomes more socially accepted. So that's then you can wear it in the workplace. That could happen by them making them like it. There's positives that could come from it. Is it problematic on some level? Yeah, it is, but I've never really gave too much of like what somebody has in their hair and how they style their hair. Like that shouldn't be a big deal. That shouldn't be something that we're all like, oh my God, I can't believe you wore braids. Okay, like black people, we primarily wear braids, but I mean like Vikings braided their beards. Like are we really like going after Vikings or some shit? Like,
Kings were not out here wearing no buck. We need to pause for a
Dr.
second.
Umar would say that
They was
Vikings were
not
black.
wearing no box braids, bro. They
Hey,
were not wearing no
D1O.
Afrikaan. They were not wearing no Africana box with like the texture, the stuff. Oh my!
Bro, you
Let-
trying
was not-
Texture doesn't matter.
Let him
It's all
finish. Smooth. Go ahead. Yeah, unless you're done.
Oh no, I was done.
Okay,
I was done.
let's go to Pyro then.
Yeah, I'm glad like the second half of this panel got their shit in order because this ain't no big deal. Like, oh, Like, be like, oh my god, I can't believe Be More laid it out perfectly. Like, oh boy, Robert Kardashian. Oh, what did he do that's so bad? He defended a black person who may or may not have committed a murder. Okay, cool. Like, oh, Kim Kardashian, what did she do that's so bad? She helped fight one of the for black people getting out of prison in like one of the most fucked up presidencies that everyone here can agree that just happened. Like, she did that with Trump, not Biden, not Obama, but Trump and shit. Like, yeah, I give her credit where credit's due. What else did she also put up a fucking Kanye West. Now, like, we can say she's just grifting, but that nigga's fucking crazy. And like, I love Kanye West music. He's a fucking master lyricist, but the nigga kind of has problems. And like, she gave that nigga the honest chance. Like, she helped, you know, she tried to help him. Like, she had children with him. She has children who are now like the next generation of our black community. I can't find a problem with it. Like, yeah, people take the popular things they see from pop culture, which is usually dominated by like black fucking media and shit that we all talk about, and they rip it off all the time. Like, they doing a hairstyle and shit. Why should I care? Like, see people with dreads all the time. Like, I get the point Smooth was trying to make. Dreads are a part of a lot of different cultures, and like with different hair textures, we see them arrive differently. I can get that. Like, I don't care about, but like, I don't care about like what culture your hair came from, to be honest, or shit like that. Like, it's just not a big deal. It seems like infighting at its highest. Like,
Let's go to Joe.
Check. All right, so I think I might be the enemy of the panel today. It's a rare sight. I'm excited. I'm gonna see what Top Dolphin feels like every day. It's great. All right, so like, so, God, so like, what's the reality, right? So white influencers have openly changed their appearance, and you could make the argument that they are racially identifiably black, regardless of their intentionality. While it's possible for racially identifiable white women to have features akin to stereotypical black femmes, like darker skin, curly hair, voluptuous features, whether it be the hips, breasts, lips, or otherwise, no, I don't think anyone is making the claim that that doesn't exist. What I sort of noticed was that no one is disputing those things. What they are disputing is that those features were gained through natural means. And an overwhelming majority of the influencers that I found were trying to challenge that assertion, that these were actually things that we occurred naturally. With that being said, I think we should be wary of adopting physical features and fetishizing physical features of like racially marginalized groups. Making the claim that you're doing this because you explicitly want to look like a black woman is bad. Like, I don't think anyone would disagree with that. However, let me just be clear. I have not seen a lot of women make that claim. They exist though. Like, there's a couple that we could talk about. And I can also see like the desire of changing your appearance online in order to make money, create like a poor standard for women broadly. Now, the last thing I'll say is that I think there's two things happening at the same time, and maybe that's something we could probably like argue about. I think that on one hand, non-black women are actively changing their appearance to intentionally or otherwise look like black women. However, I think that at the same time, there are women who are actively changing their appearance to look like Kim Kardashian. And I think the problem is, it's like, if we believe that Kim Kardashian is doing this to look like a black woman, whether it be intentional or not, then through transitive property, then you could say that women who do this to try to look like Kim Kardashian are through transitive property trying to look like black women intentionally or not. I'm not quite there yet. I think these two things are separate.
I think you can go a step further by saying that even black women are changing their bodies to look like better looking black women, right? So, and far as if that's true, right, you can say that women in general, or some women, or whoever woman is doing this, is like, they see that men have a preference, and I think it's true that men really like some proportionate meat on the bodies, voluptuous bodies. They're like, hey,
wait, we're in a Discord with Peacecraft. How could you say that? He be like in them flatbreads. Like, what?
Hey, sure. There's some anomalies out there, but I think, from our media and just generally speaking, it's true that we like something to grab, but we don't like morbidly obese, right? So somewhere perfect, somewhere in the middle.
Everybody's
so-
different.
Right, that's what I said. Everybody's different, but this seems to be like the plurality of the census, right? It's not the majority. It may not be. It may be the majority, but it's at the very least a plurality, and it's a lot of benefit from looking a certain type. It may not be like, yo, I want to look like Black woman, therefore I'm changing my body. It may be like, yo, these types of features are getting the most attention. It just so happens that Black women have it, so I want to change my body to have this a body type that just so happens that Black women have, rather than I want to look like a Black woman. Right?
It just
You
so
understand?
happens. You think it's
Right,
just
right,
you think
it
it's
is not-
unintentional.
I don't know about
That's
that.
so fake.
For example, that's why I'm saying, okay, that's why Black women, skinny, very
my.
Black, are getting like BBLs, right? Or some really fat Black women getting, liposuctions
do
and
this.
then transferring. Like, they're
I
not
don't know
saying
what's going
I want
on
to look
right now.
black.
do
They're
this.
saying
I can't
that
do
they
this.
have a body type that they want and then changing their
Wait.
body.
Smooth and then be more.
Okay, fam. Wait, Dream, bro, what? Like,
Yeah.
The fuck did you just?
It got
like,
worse by the second, and I was like, oh, geez, man.
Bro, it's like
Point
watching a
one,
train crash on
point
itself.
Point one. Black women naturally, this is a naturally occurring phenomenon. That is the body that they have.
But
Okay.
then, but Joe Lewis made the argument. Joe Lewis made the argument that it's natural in every race, right? And you could be, you're right in terms of stereotypically true. We view the Black woman stereotypically more voluptuous, and that's true. I'm not saying that, but let's not pretend. But let's not pretend it's impossible for any race to be voluptuous, right? And that being true, you can model yourself over a naturally voluptuous white woman, correct? As another white woman, could you not do that?
Look, I'm gonna tell you straight up. When I think about
Could you
black
not do
people,
that,
I
Smooth?
don't. I do
Could you
not.
not do that,
I
Smooth?
do not think of a
Okay,
particular
well,
body
her
type.
state, she's
This is
probably
not
getting it
it.
from a Black woman, bro.
Could you not do that, Smooth? You can see another voluptuous, naturally beautiful white woman, and you're like, shit, I want to be like that white woman. As a white woman,
But
let me change my body.
it's not. That's a unicorn, fam. That's not a regular occurrence.
Nah, I'm
So
not
you
calling
think
that
you
either.
think the majority
What
of
is
these
what is we talking about right now? Y'all
Right.
niggas is
Oh, Smooth, I agree with you.
Fringe.
I
That's
threw a
why
grenade,
said
that's what
in
happened.
Yo,
my
are
first
you
thing-
fucked up, Joe? Fuck you, bro.
No, Smooth,
Fuck
I agree with
you.
you. Smooth, if the intent is I want to look like a Black person, I agree with you that that's a bad thing.
Wait, I'm gonna be honest. I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's fine.
Sure.
I think it's okay as long as you acknowledge that. I think that's better, actually.
Okay, so
Because
Yeah,
as
I
long
don't
as
think
you're
that's
like,
better.
as
I'm
long as
activated,
no,
I'm
as
activated.
long as you're
Okay,
like,
I think you
as
should be
long as you're
yourself.
like, hey,
Most of the
I'm
time.
taking, I'm
Prime
accepting
to
this
turn
from
off
another
his
culture.
camera because y'all messing up.
Oh,
Bro.
I know,
Y'all really
Prime.
messing
Prime,
up.
you
And
know,
black
right,
We're gonna
women,
finish
You have to
steak. We're gonna
black
finish steak.
women are
every culture-
rolling
every
in their
culture- every
graves. They
culture, every culture
turning
changes
in they
based. Every
beds.
culture changes based off of the other cultures around them. If we think Black culture is a good look right now, as long as we acknowledge that and allow that to be a change that happens, it's fine. It's not a big deal.
Okay, I
That would be
okay, I
true
don't
as far as a
believe
credit
you. I don't
perspective.
believe you, and I have an example.
Go for
All
it.
right.
Well, what example are you about to bring up, Joe? You about
Okay,
to bring up that
so-
one woman who like made herself a black Barbie doll and like she look hideous now? Cause like
No,
yeah,
let
she
him-
look
No,
hideous.
Martina Big. No, Martina Big explicitly said that she wants to adjust her appearance so that she looks like a Black woman. She has gotten melanin injections. She has gotten lip injections. She has gotten multiple breast implants, multiple butt implants, and she has overtly said that she feels herself becoming a Black woman with these alterations. Is that
How
something
did
that
I
you're
know?
comfortable
Did
with?
she ever, did
Oh,
she
I
ever
can-
say
hold
why?
on,
Did she
hold
ever
on,
say
you-
why?
So
Yeah,
I
she said it. She overtly said
Why
that
Did
she
she
wants
say
to do
why?
these
before
things
that?
Why does she want
just
to look like a Black
because
woman?
because she likes how Black women look.
that's
So do I.
okay. That part's
I know.
fine. You can also obviously say that she's not
Y'all are
going through
sick.
that same experience. She didn't go through that same
But
experience.
I would
to get
say that
there.
it's
That's kind of
yikes as hell, though.
transphobic, dude. That's transphobic.
Nah, shut the fuck up with that shit. Nah, the problem like
y'all
for me isn't
talking
like the problem for me isn't like oh she liked black people and she tried to emulate that. The problem is like she took it way too fucking far. Cause this is the exact woman I knew you would bring up, Joe. I knew you would bring her up. She got injections inside of injections. That's
Yeah,
not right.
something's going
Like
on.
nah,
Something's
she went too far. If we talking
why
about
that too
her,
Wait,
if
why
we
is that
put
too far?
because like I can't even like
Is it
apply
just
like
a
yo.
lot? I mean,
Yeah, it's just a lot. because like we
I
have
don't
we
really
have
see the
it.
problem with a lot.
We have
Bro,
examples.
so
I'm trying to say
if your
like
white friend. No, go ahead, bro. My bad.
I'm
bro.
trying to say like this example is like the most extreme of the most extreme. When we have examples of people like, yo, they feel like this too, but what do? They go and get like a tan or some shit. Like they might get a Botox injection. This is like, I don't think this is wrong because she's trying to feel like she's black. I think this is wrong because like I think this amount of injections and like plastic in your body is unhealthy.
Well, I mean,
I mean,
I
that's
think
like
that's a
almost
different
every
argument. I would
surgery.
agree that I would
should
agree
be
with, I
out.
would agree that I think it's still bad, but I think it is preferable. I think the reason it's preferable because at least you're acknowledging reality and you're giving respect to what you're like trying to do. I think it's more effed up when we got girls trying to get Kylie Jenner braids, and
Wait.
like black women who've been
Oh,
doing
that's
those
true,
for
but
years.
why is it
I agree
bad?
with you that. No, it's just
Why is it
it's a
bad?
level of
Like,
appropriation.
don't
that's
just
kind of
repeat it,
disrespectful.
just
No,
explain
it's
why
bad
bad.
because it's just like it would be nice if proper citation is provided, right? Where
Yeah.
does she pull that influence from? To me, that's kind of important because I don't want people to think that it's like Miley Cyrus trying to say she invented twerking. That shit's harmful.
I
Yeah,
agree
I-
with you. I agree with you. If people
Yeah.
are lying about the origin
Yeah.
and the intent behind what they do, then obviously that's a bad thing. My
Yeah,
thing
yeah.
is, what happens, like kind of like what Joe Lewis is saying, when you're modeling yourself after another white woman, a non-black person that also happens to be voluptuous, and let's say for my argument's case, it's for natural reasons. Do you then still have to admit, hey, I'm kind of like altering my body to look like a black woman, although that your reasoning behind it is because I want to look like this other good-looking non-black person?
I'm just not gonna.
I'm
So,
going to deploy
okay,
another
Women
example.
come in all different
You're
sizes,
asking
so
if-
that's on you.
No. So you're asking if the now we're going from the first layer to the second layer. So basically the second generation of that, do they need to acknowledge that they're biting off black people? Yes. They need to
No,
also
it's not a bite because
No,
I'm
he's
saying
saying
this
if you
happened
get butt
natural, this is
injections
a
to have
natural-
like a thick white girl, basically. Like, and I don't think butt injections are enough to make yourself are enough to say that that's a black aesthetic. Like there are
I
thick white
agree
girls.
with
I'm
that. I
not
agree with
denying
that.
that. But there's like a totality of steps that you take that the Kardashians have taken that like I think it's super dishonest that we say like I don't see how they're going for a black aesthetic. Like to me, that's the problem that you don't see that they're going for a black aesthetic.
That's fine. That's fine. Like from the Kardashians' point of view, that argument might as well be true. But I'm talking about this hypothetical and probably true situation where there are non-black women, right, who have full lips, voluptuous bodies. The only thing that they're lacking is dark skin, right? If you just remove the melanin from a naturally thick black woman, this would be that person, right? If somebody were to model themselves after that person, do they still have to admit that they're copying a black aesthetic, although they're not?
I mean,
What are
there's
you
never been to
talking
prove
about?
it.
Literally, Kim
No, I
Kardashian put on braids.
That's not
and
what I'm
said,
talking about right now. Okay, you're literally
So
ignoring what I'm saying.
What'd she say?
I'm not talking about the Kardashians. I literally said you are probably right with the Kardashians, but I'm talking about a different scenario where just Joe admitted, and I'm pretty sure you guys will have to logically admit because it's true, that there are naturally voluptuous non-black people with full lips and boobs and whatever. It doesn't matter.
And let the record show I am the horniest motherfucker on Twitch. So if you don't think that's a reality, I got receipts for days. But anyway, carry on.
Exactly. So if you model yourself after that non-black person, how is it not? If you model yourself after that non-black person, how is it not true that you're not copying the black aesthetic, right? Like that's
Nobody will
literally
just
factual.
nobody.
It's not
you can't prove
just
it.
about. It's not just
I'm
about.
just
the
assume
butt,
it's true.
the lip.
This is just I'm trying to follow the logic. Assume it's true.
Well, so Fernandez, what are you saying?
Assuming
it's
the
not
case,
just about the.
you're talking about the attitude. Then you're talking
Wait,
about their whole
Let Azzy go.
personality.
Let Azzy
change?
go. He hasn't even gotten like 2 words in.
It's not just about the butt, the lips, it's about the entire persona put together, where the culminating effect is you no longer look white, you look like a black person walking down the street, you talk like the black person walking down the street. Their whole persona has changed, where you now embody something that is encompassing of a black woman. It's
Well,
not
okay,
about
well,
them
wait,
looking
wait,
like
hold
the
on, hold on,
voluptuous.
hold on,
So we're-
But
so
it's
we're-
not
we're
about
hopping
them.
on-
It's not
we're
about
hopping-
them. It's
we're
not about
acting like
them.
a black
It's not
woman.
about
We
them.
are-
It's not
we're
about them
completely hopping
trying to,
on a different
because
train,
they're not looking like
Choo-choo,
like,
motherfucker.
there's plenty of Russian and Scandinavian, and yeah, there's plenty of women out there who are big body, you know, voluptuous people out there, you know. Yeah, but they're not building themselves to look like these individuals. Like, I don't see people.
But
What do you
this is
mean?
hold on. This is why I tried to separate Kim Kardashian from black women, because like I'll give another example, like Nikita Dragon, right? If you look at Nikita Dragon right now, Google her if you need to. Is she presenting as somebody who's trying to emulate Kim Kardashian, or she is someone trying to emulate a black woman?
That's a
And
Filipino. That's a Filipino person, and they get dark skin.
Oh, she's not Filipino. But okay.
She's not
Like,
Filipino. I'm
welcome
pretty
to the
sure.
floor.
Ooh, got
Get
him.
out.
It's rough.
Oh wait, no,
Hard to
she's
tell,
Mexican.
man, hard to tell.
She was born. She was born in
Joe,
Belgium.
Get it to
Went
him.
to school.
Well,
Wait,
He
wait,
is
wait,
definitely a black-
wait,
this is
shut
definitely
up.
blackfishing.
Like she's of Vietnamese and Mexican descent. She is born of Belgium. Like we can make
My
the
bad, I thought she was
argument that
Filipino.
we can make the argument that she's blackfishing, like however you
No,
like, because she gets a
Vietnamese
tan or
and
whatnot.
Mexican-
I don't know this woman. Like,
But Vietnamese
saying-
and Mexican people still get severely brown. So it's
No,
not
but
like
Pyro,
she's trying to-
my
I don't
argument,
think she's
Severely
severely
brown.
my argument is that my argument
I've
is
seen
hold
some
on.
brown.
I haven't
No,
seen
no,
no
don't
double down. Don't double down.
I'm
You're-
so
you're
sorry.
good.
Your baby is severely
I've-
brown. I don't know what to do.
No,
Barely
like, my
brown.
argument is that
Hello.
Jesus
They
Christ.
walk out in
My
the sun
argument
and
is
they
that-
turn into devil food.
My argument is that for a lot of these women who people make the claim of blackfishing, I think that the line is really blurred. And I think that's Kim's fault. Like Kim's a piece of shit for this. Like she fucked up the meta so much where like I don't know if there are women intentionally or not trying to look like Kim Kardashian, or if women are intentionally or not trying to look like black women. Because like for every Nikita Dragon, there's like what's her name, Mika Francis, who's another like model who literally like has the same type of like pseudo black pseudo Kim aesthetic.
yeah.
Woe Vicky literally called herself black. I mean that's a whole other thing. But
Yo,
like,
She's a liar and a
I'm
troll.
weak as fuck. He said there's a blackfishing meta.
Yeah, I'm about to say, what's her name? Bad Barbie or Bad Baby? She,
yeah,
dog.
like even her, where it's
Bad
like
Baby is a perfect example. She's trying to be black so hard.
Yeah.
well, yeah, but I think that for so many, like
She's
we
faking
were
it to
talking
make-
about, like we were talking about implicit bias in the previous topic, is that I don't necessarily believe that these women are navigating in such a way that is intentionally trying to look like black women. However, the problem that I've always had, and this is the same thing that I saw when I was doing some like digging on videos earlier today, is that a vast majority of the black women I've seen and listened to have a problem with them trying to justify the reason why they're doing the things that they're doing. So like they'll say shit where it's like, my skin just naturally tans like this because I'm olive. I have olive skin. And it's like, okay, not what we're trying to say, but keep going. And then, or it's like the makeup companies give me the products and I just try them on. Like it's just like if you have a problem, talk to the makeup companies. And it's like, that's even worse, but okay. Like, and then like we know like BBLs in the United States are illegal. So but it's
They're
like again,
illegal?
like I don't necessarily
Wait, you
believe
think a
that.
BBL is illegal?
No, it's not. There's no way.
Nah,
it's
I'm about to say Dr. Miami does them all the time, like on his.
I was
BBLs
about
are
to say,
legal, bro.
He was running a promo on
They're just
them.
expensive. Most
The
people go to
horniest
the States
motherfucker
because
on
it's
Twitch.
cheaper.
You should know this. You should know this, Joe.
Yeah,
Oh,
BBL is legal.
Just science.
Most people just go out of
Science.
States because it's way cheaper to do so.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
to be honest,
for
it's not even trying to look like black women. It's trying to look ambiguous. It's trying to like
Sure.
it's all of the positives with none of the negatives.
like for example, like there's even some models that there are some models, excuse me, some adult performers that like they change their aesthetic to fit into certain niches. Like a one good example that I'm sure all of us have seen from time and time again is Amy Anderson. Like this is a
Amy Anderson.
oh god, this is an
I
adult
don't know
film
who that
star
is, bro.
who literally
Rather.
adjusted herself to have voluptuous features. Like another one comes an example is Jocelyn James.
Oh,
Like
I
these
know
are individuals who like exemplified certain parts of their bodies.
Joe's a
But are they doing
choreologist.
this?
We don't expect. He
Yeah.
doesn't expect you to know.
Yeah,
all
like,
this.
well, why you
Yeah.
saying this like you saying this like I'm supposed to know these people like George Washington and shit? I don't know
Wait,
who
Jocelyn
any of these
Jade has a
people
fake
are.
ass.
George Washington,
like-
Amy
he's talking
Anderson,
about it like
you know,
it's
the,
from
the,
Malcolm.
Yeah, like
No, but I'm
the
saying, like, the
founding
question is,
fathers
like,
and
are
mothers
they-
of America.
Let him
the
finish,
fifth face on Rushmore.
Yeah, like the point I'm trying to make is that I don't think that like those two individuals that I mentioned are doing this because they want to look like black women, and I think sometimes like that gets mixed in this idea that like, oh, these women are just doing this because they want to look like black women. And I think like if you interrogated a lot of them, by and large, they're probably like, maybe there's some like implicit bias that's happening in there, but intentionally, I don't think so.
Like,
Yeah, I
it's
think
not
a
about
lot
being
of
a
the time-
black.
I think a
problem
lot of the
is-
time
the
people
prob-
just see like a
there's
culture
nothing-
that they want to adapt to, and it's fine.
There's-
Go with
Well,
it.
it's a little weird half the time, but
How is
that's
why
neither
is it
here nor
weird that
there.
you just say
That's
that
neither
and then
here
you just
nor
don't
there.
back it, you know?
I will back
Bam.
it, but
Go ahead.
I will back it because there's plenty of times where we see like black people, and I brought this up the last time we talked about this. Black people do this with Asian people. We'll like, and Asian people will do it with black people. Like
Mhm.
we'll Asian fish and no black fish, but you know I have my gripes because Asian people seem to just profit more because at the end of the day, they don't attribute. There is a sort of a disregard and not a proper attribution to like we don't reap the benefits of our natural, of what we look like naturally. And even when we do go to the extent of changing ourselves to look even better, like a Kim Kardashian, we'll still be second place or third or fourth place. We'll
What is
never
the
be.
loss?
The
But
problem
that's
is
just patriarchy.
problem, and then even worse, when they do change themselves, they're Kim Kardashian literally said that she got her braids from another white actress, where she's literally looking like Serena Williams going out to like when she was a kid. If you've seen King Arthur, when she was like a kid and she had the barrettes, the white barrettes all down her braids, like box braids all around her head, and she said, "Oh, this is I saw the white woman do it," and what's her name, like Bo Derek, and everybody was just like, come on, Kim, you got to be a little bit more critical than this. Like people are just like so sleep that they will just overlook things, right? And there's like a total disrespect of whole cultures. And I'm not just saying only black, but like you could be like Hispanic, like even in Hispanic culture, like if you're too dark skinned but you have all the same features, you're ugly. But if you're the lighter skinned, they'll put you on TV and you'll be like, they'll parade you around as the prime beauty.
And
Yeah,
then,
but
this is and the biggest issue with this,
patriarchy, man.
but it's
Like,
not just
we-
patriarchy because the reality is like the
Hey,
reality is like
no, but dead hold on. Let's not cap.
Patriarchy.
Let's not fucking cap. Like don't.
hate it
Why are
when
you
y'all
fucking
do
laughing?
this,
Like
bro.
why are you fucking
I hate
laughing
it
like
when
you
y'all
don't
do
believe the
this.
floor exists?
You let him go.
Like,
let him go.
Okay, we can blame men, but women. If,
No, let's
if
hear
women
it.
are
Joe,
Let him make
don't
the case.
do
You're
that.
fighting the case. You don't
Don't-
even know the case yet. Let's hear it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like let
yeah.
him go.
'Cause
Yeah.
I want to argue him too, Azzy. I just want to hear it first. Maybe
Yeah.
I need to calm down.
So like we accept. Like okay, let's try to set the floor, Azzy.
Yeah, fuck
Do
it
you
up.
believe?
Do it like-
Do you
do it like
believe that the
Twitter.
male gaze? Do you believe that the male gaze exists? That beauty
course it
standards are
does.
set by the male gaze. All right, so let's accept that
no,
floor
I don't-
exists. Now, do you think the male gaze is predominantly white or non-white?
well in America it's definitely like
What?
well, I guess
There you
both
go.
ways.
In
I don't
Amer-
know if that was like a
in
hard
America,
question.
that wasn't a hard
Okay.
question, but it's just
All right.
It's a little
Is the male-
disingenuous
is the
because
male
you have-
gaze
are we
and
talking
the
about the global-
standards of beauty
just about the
set
global male
by
gaze. Are we talking
No,
about?
come on.
no,
come
I'm
on,
saying
come on.
in the United States, is the male gaze and the beauty standards set by white men or non-white men?
Yeah, we're talking specifically about hip hop
White
culture,
men.
which makes it different
We're-
though.
No,
This
let's
is
hear it
not-
out.
No.
That's what I'm
it's
talking
not.
about.
A lot of white people are a fan of
gaze
hip hop,
set
okay?
and the
Exactly.
standards
You
by
know,
white
but-
men
I
or
think-
non-white
Just because you're a
men.
fan doesn't mean you shape culture. Like
I really
no,
hip hop
yes, it
culture is
does.
shaped by black people.
You just because you're a fan that defines who makes who popular.
No, first off, Joe, the answer is yes. Because I would like to argue ban, but that's a separate point. Like, okay, where you going with this?
Yeah, like the point I'm trying to make is that like women have never, unless you could think of an example off the rip, have been able to set their own beauty standards for themselves. It's always been under the white male gaze.
I think
Like,
BBL.
it's the exact reason why Mariah Carey is white or black, depending if there's a Christmas album or not. Like, we understand that Mariah Carey is a mixed race woman. So you could argue that she's a black woman, you can argue she's a white woman. But if you clearly look at her discography and what artists do to her literal album covers, on the Christmas albums, she's white. On the R&B albums, she's black. And it's very clear that there's a distinct separation. I'm using just mixed race women as the one example, so we can like really establish a decent floor here, that the white male gaze sets the beauty standards. Now, what we are seeing, I would argue, is that the white male gaze has a fascination to things that are non-white. And then because there is a lack of understanding about race in the United States, you start seeing white men set beauty standards on stereotypical characteristics of non-white women.
I was gonna
That's
say
a
that.
nonsense.
I was gonna
We
say that
know that from
non-white men and men have an agreement, right, on what kind of looks beautiful for the most part. Like obviously, there's
Maybe
some
in this
outliers.
example,
not about-
all
it's
the
not about-
time. That,
It's
that
not
just
about
because lines
beauty.
up here
No,
doesn't mean
hold
that
on,
it's
hold on,
always
hold on.
lined up.
It's not about beauty. It's not about beauty because they'll still marry their blonde, blue-eyed, skinny white wife at the end of the day.
Wait,
It's not
that's-
about what they
that's-
consider beauty.
that's
No,
separate.
no, there's a
Wait, hold on.
difference.
No, no,
There's a
it's a-
difference between beauty
racial-
standards and there's a difference between
Marriage standards.
a meta fetishized exotic, looking standard that we like, a sex appeal. Sex appeal is in regards, if I'm trying to be intelligent with this, people like they'll marry what they find beautiful, but they'll like want to have sex with what they find sexy. Like,
I just think we have to apply this not across all of America, and we have to apply this more directly to hip hop culture.
So
because all white women aren't doing this. Even most white women aren't like putting on this as status.
Getting
This
a
isn't related to hip-hop
BBL,
culture.
getting a BBL and getting lip filler has nothing to do with making yourself more beautiful. It's making yourself more attractive or increasing your sex appeal because you want more attention.
It's separating
when you
these
talk
two, as if like sex
and-
appeal, sexiness, and beauty are not intertwined. This is weird.
And
Because
also
I don't
wanna
see-
make
I
it
don't
just
see
a
all-
patriarchy
I don't-
thing. My
If
bad.
it
I
was
don't
about
want to make
beauty,
it a.
if it was about beauty standards, then like you
No,
would
because
see
what
like
happens is there's still
if
a
I were
stigma.
looking at if I was
There's-
looking at there's still a stigma with it. And that's
Stigma's
what I'm
not based on
saying.
based on judgment, right? Is this white man might find this woman attractive with these features, but he wants to be with this white woman because this is what's expected of him. This is what society demands, and it maybe it's just better for his brand. It's just fucking it's racism.
No,
Like,
it's
but
because he
yeah,
gets all,
even
he gets
just-
all the positives without any of the
His
negatives.
brand.
But I
Yeah,
don't
and
wanna,
even with
but I
the-
want to
and
push
even
back
with
on
the
Joe's
thing-
point about it being patriarchy because, like, this.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, this is something we primarily see with black women, but really, it's across the board that people want all of that. People want as much of the black aesthetic they can get without having to buy into the rest, the hard parts of blackness.
But
We can see this. We can see this in
Sure,
men
sure.
when there's a reason why Bruno Mars is as popular as he is. Don't get me wrong,
Sure.
the man can kind of sing, but the more important part is that he is racially ambiguous without any of the blackness. But they get their funk, they get their soul. They're like, wow, this is a
And I
soul
agree.
brother right here without the black. I don't think it's just the patriarchy thing. Like I said, people don't want. They like the things that black people offer, and then they figure out how can we whiten it up? How can we?
Which is
Joe
which
say
is
it was
struggle.
only the patriarchy. I didn't hear that when he said.
But is that? But I have a question though. Like, is that Bruno Mars' fault, or is it what people?
He's
not
benefiting
Bruno
from it.
Mars'
That's not his
fault.
fault, but he's benefiting
Okay,
from it.
so,
But again, like I wanna pull
if
back
it's-
a little bit on something, so it makes something like incredibly.
Okay, then.
This
like-
goes against your point, real quick, because as you can see, right, he's capitalizing off of this, right, and it just goes to show how white people or money influences this space. So
And-
what is that
and like
patriarchy?
further and furthermore, even oh sorry.
Everything simply by the means of just throwing their money around.
Like furthermore, even something that is like a really deep concern to me, and like I was trying to make this point too, but I guess I got lost in the sauce. So like kind of make it clear here, is that we've kind of accepted that we essentialize, like we understand that essentializing races is a bad thing, but at the same time, we essentialize features of bodies all the time. And we just like we accept this to be like one of the points that I made, like when I was trying to make in the opening, is that like the essentialization of stereotypical black features is a problem. Like, and this is like the one thing I was trying to say, but it's like nobody is like claiming that, like when they're talking about blackfishing, that these individuals did this for nefarious, like that they're doing this because they want to overtly like look like black women. It's like, oh, like of course, like people can have different types of features. That's what I'm trying to say. But do they have these features through natural means? And then when you interrogate it, where it's like, hey, like, we don't believe that these features that you have are ones that you attain naturally, they go through these hoops and ladders to justify the implicit bias that they're expressing. I don't know if that makes sense.
That's like women in general. Like a lot of them.
Oh my.
No, that's
like-
men too. That's men too.
No,
Like,
okay, but that's the beauty industry in general. A lot of it is like you're
beauty
obtaining
industry.
something that's not natural to you, like makeup. You know what I'm saying? Blush. You know, eyelash extensions. You know what I'm saying? Creatine even. But the point is, so what if it's unnatural? Why does that matter?
Well, the big issue is because like somebody brought up earlier, they tried to say the thing that it was like it would destigmatize these things and like it would make it better for black people. The reality is that's not happening. Like I said, Kim Kardashian can wear braids and to be cool, and then the next day a little black girl can come in to going to school with braids, and she's still getting kicked out for having an outrageous hairdo. And that this isn't like, and
It's
yes,
not
that,
an overnight thing though. It's an in
So-
progress thing. It's
But
not
I
like
don't-
all of a sudden, like
Oh,
all of a sudden,
I-
box braids are around and
But-
every black person's good now. We've saved.
but
racism.
I'm saying
It's
even if you look at
be
historically,
saltless.
Elvis didn't make like music more acceptable for Chuck Berry over the years. Like this isn't something we're just seeing now. It's an exasperating of an issue that's always happened. That like they're not looking to be more accepting of black people. They're just trying to take what they can, reshape, repackage it into a white product, and then put it out there, and then they cast the black people to the side. They're not trying to be more inclusive of the black people now that they figured out they like the little piece, the little aesthetic that they get from it.
That seems like a contingent thing rather than a necessary thing, right? So you're saying as long as they include black people, then it's okay what they're doing. That's basically what you're saying.
I think what they're doing creates harm. Like it creates harm for black people in the short term. So that's my issue. If that,
But
if
only
the
because
harm
they don't
wasn't there-
include them, right? That's what you're saying.
Well, no,
because
I'm
they're
saying I
not being
think it-
included. That's why it's bad.
It's not about
It's
being.
not
Well, I
exclusively
would-
that.
But
That's
that's
why
what
I
he
would go as
said.
far as-
I'm just going off what
No,
he said.
that's not. So I'm the person that brought this up. So what he's saying is, to the point I brought up in my opening was that if the needle's not moving, so what I was saying was if it was making it more acceptable, yeah, you know what I'm saying, great, you know what I'm saying, it benefits us culturally. However, that's not happening. They're literally just co-opting blackness, just doing whatever the fuck they want. And then when it's time to actually be black or support something black, they're nowhere to be found. They're like,
So as long
We're not speaking to individuals. So I know what Kim K does, but I'm saying, but what she represents. Yeah.
By and large, they're nowhere to be found.
So as long as that changes, by and large, it's fine with you.
Wait,
It's not
No,
about it
that's
being
so
why does that
fine.
matter?
It's not. We
Bad.
don't really. It's not about us caring what they do. It's just that
No,
there is a
that's what he
detriment.
said.
There
Let
is
him
a no.
answer.
No,
Let him
you
answer.
kind of missed the point, bro.
I didn't
It's
miss
not
the point.
about.
That's what
I mean,
he
he did
said.
say it.
Hold on, let him finish. As you go.
He didn't say that we stop all of a sudden stop caring because we're not being included. We're saying that we are
That's not
being
what I said.
hurt. Your question begs. It literally said your question is, are we going to be happy once we're included within the process? Like once we
No,
are
that's-
at parity.
He clarified his statement. I moved on for what me and Bam was talking about. He clarified his statement, and the conversation evolved, bro. I'm talking something different now. It's not about whether or not they care.
You keep
Smooth-
asking the same question.
I asked a different
What?
question, brother. I asked a different question. This question
What
is
questions
different.
you ask?
Okay, it's more specific or it's more general because the more specific question was already answered.
What did
So-
you ask?
So
If
when
it made
Smooth-
culture better, would it be okay?
right, basically saying because it's harming us, that's why it's bad. And therefore I said, so as long as it's not harming us, it's gonna be a good thing.
Yeah,
Then
I
you're
mean,
okay
yeah.
with it.
In a society where it shows like it had no like negative impacts on black people, then yeah, I would.
By
have,
and
I
large,
wouldn't.
there's
Yeah,
always gonna be some level of
Yeah.
impact for anything, right? But Smooth was saying because it's by and large these people are committing harm or attributing harm to black people, then that's why we're against it. He's not saying it is necessarily harmful, right? He's saying it's contingently harmful because of what harm it causes. But as
Mhm.
long as the people that's committing the contingent harm no longer produce that harm, then it's fine with Smooth, according to his logic.
yeah,
That's
me
what I'm
too.
saying.
I have no like inherent issue with like your bodily autonomy. Like it's not because like I hate that you decided to wear your clothes this way. It's all about the harm that's caused by it. So yeah, if you remove the harm, then yeah, in a society, everybody can do whatever the f they want.
Which is
But
what
that's
Django
not
was
what
saying.
we live in.
I agree, which is what
We-
Django is saying. It's gonna take time. For
Hmm.
example, right? This is the logic that Django is saying. That I kind of agree with. It's
It's
saying
not.
that
It's not gonna happen. That's not reality.
a lot of
Reality
people
is
say,
every.
a lot of people say that, and a lot of
Why-
people say it's not gonna happen,
Wait.
and it happens. To be honest, Dangwoo,
What? When is
we
it
don't
ever
know.
happen?
We don't know if it will or we won't. We really don't know. That's just the
What
truth.
point-
Wait, did
what
you just
point in-
ask? Wait, I'm sorry. Are you asking when have black people been more accepted? Is that like the black?
No.
look has
What
been more
point?
accepted?
Like one
'Cause that's
point in
what-
history. One point in history where like a trend or the meta look has not been hurtful to the group who has not had that, or who had it but was not of like that social or economic status, and
That's
or
easy.
the
When
person,
has
the group
cultural
that's never had
appropriation
the
ever been beneficial to black people? That's
That's
what he's
easy.
asking.
Say, as
Basically.
do you not see that there is less harm throughout the years of people with dark skin? Do you think it is as much harm today as it was 200 years ago?
Less
with people
harm.
Or do you think that's due to cultural appropriation? Do you think cultural appropriation helped that destigmatize
Yeah,
it?
Bam
I don't
has
think
a
so.
great question.
Okay, then
No,
then
Actually,
we could-
are you? Wait, can we do historical? Because I do have an historical example for this.
Alright,
What
go ahead.
actually did help. So
Go ahead.
back when Alexander the Great, this is way back, okay? I'm talking history.
We're talking about the Moors.
That's why I asked. Azzy. Okay, you give me okay. So when he took Persia, they took that Persian culture and tried assimilating it a little better into the Greek culture. It brought Greek further into Asia Minor and Asia, and it brought the Persian culture a little bit closer to Greek. Now it ended pretty early because Alexander died, but it helped a lot of people get along in these areas, and a lot of cultures moved throughout that was able to enhance each other's culture, and they just like took things and made their culture.
It's because
great.
there was a lot of intermingling and like
That was
a lot
part
of
of it?
sharing.
Both of
But we
those
also,
societies
hold on,
destroyed
wait,
now.
wait. We gotta.
Do you think that's because of the intermingling? Is that the route you want to go,
Maybe.
man? I-
No, like we gotta set the floor here, right? Like
my bad.
back
We
when
can't argue that
we.
they're dead.
What was your example?
Yeah,
again? I'm
you know,
sorry.
a lot of societies.
He
are dead.
said during
Is that
when
implicit that it's
Alexander
our
the
fault?
Great.
Gotcha.
inherited-
When Alexander the Great was conquering countries, he had no idea what the fuck racial construction is and how to perpetuate that within capital. Like that was shit that colonizers did in the United States. What we now know as the United States, South America, etc. Like now, if we try to set the floor here, what the reality is, and I think maybe Bam brought this up, and this is like my concern, is that when we essentialize that certain features exist exclusively in certain groups, we should be very wary about setting these type of standards, because these standards are artificial. Like the floor is bullshit. Like we understand, like Kim Kardashian setting the floor is dangerous to women. We understand that any influencer that's trying to say like, "Hey, look like this and you'll get accepted," it's such a horrible standard for women and femme presenting people broadly. Like it's the problem I have. It's the same thing where it's like, it's not going to affect us because we're fucking men, but it's going to affect women. Like
It affects men.
It
I love
will
Drake,
affect men.
but the reason we have Drake giving us a Memphis aesthetic in his rap music is because he's Canadian, super light skinned, also kind of Jewish. Like I'm not
He
saying
looks
he's
like
right passing.
Albanian. He looks.
How
like,
is Kim
he looks like-
Kardashian setting a standard that's harmful towards men?
Oh, I don't know. I was just saying the general concept of like blackfishing, but in general, not just like Kim Kardashian's blackfishing. I think that hurts black women.
Yeah, well,
It
I
doesn't
think
harm
it hurts
our-
all women broadly. I think it hurts all women, not, like especially
probably.
black women, but all women. Like I think that we need to, and then again, like what sucks about this is that there's no like real policy prescription that we could positively try to solve this problem. Like this is just kind of more of a societal thing than anything else. Like you can't legislate your way in saying that like you shouldn't use makeup that's inconsistent with your skin tone. Like there's no way that law would die like the minute like the pen hit the paper. The pen would just disintegrate. But I do think that from a societal approach, we should like point out when these things happen and try to basically say, hey, this is not okay at all. But again, like those who have control of it are making tons of money towards this. So it's like, I don't know.
Wait, so you're just saying that on the broad stroke of like setting beauty standards, that part's harmful, but it's not specifically blackfishing. That's just part of the overarching idea of that.
Well, blackfishing it's all part of the same
Sure,
problem.
but it's
Blackfishing-
because of that greater problem. is what
I
you're
think it's especially problematic because of like our social positioning.
I just
Yeah,
am trying to
like-
figure out where to point out like where your issue is. I'm just trying to figure that out. 'Cause I don't
It's
know if-
all of it. It's all of it. like
Okay,
white
but the
white
blackfishing is a problem
influencers.
because of that greater concept.
I guess I can try to
It's
like
intersectional. There's racial and
Yeah.
like sexist.
it
like,
it intersects with race, it intersects with class, it intersects with social and political structures. Like the idea that you have to look a certain way to be accepted in society is total dog shit. And we set these insane standards for women that you have to look these certain ways, you have to act these certain ways, and it's the only way you're going to be accepted in society. And then like you see it kind of even in politics, you see it manifest itself. People tolerate like Lauren Boebert because she conveniently shuts up around Republicans, and every once in a while she has something to say, but it's not that quite controversial. Like we see examples of this even in the face of controversy of influencers, where it's like in the face of their criticism, like and the idea of like, hey Kim, you should probably like talk about your uses of braids. And then like when the rubber hits the road of like, okay, let's see what she has to say about this, like the answers are very insufficient. If like at best insufficient, at worst problematic.
Yeah, and it's not, and like I said, it's not necessarily about Kim. Kim isn't the worst person in the world with this issue. Like with these things, the Kardashians, like they try to use a little bit of their privilege to do good things every now and then, and I would never downplay that. But but that is not about that. That's not enough. Like they even though the good they do individually, they created well, they didn't create, but they exasperated a larger problem.
They're all pieces in the machine, right? Like if it'd be nice to live in a society where we can just kind of be who we are and then people accept us based on who we are, but we're not there yet by a mile, by miles of miles, even like whole fucking galaxies. And the problem is that every once in a while you allow, and this is the part that's really nefarious, is that you allow certain people to like however they want to look and however they want to express themselves, they get pushed into the front and they'd be like, see, we gave you this person. Shut the fuck up, black people. Shut the fuck up, trans people. Shut the fuck up, women. Like, we gave you these people to express yourselves however you want. Like, see, you can do it too. When in reality, we know that whoever's running, again, it sounds so Rob Norrie, but whoever's like running the long scheme of things, whether that be like record industries, whether it be the fashion industry, they allow these people to come through overtly.
Like they talk to black celebrities and black athletes, but like how many black women have they put on like into the public space? How many like non-celebrity black people do they deal with on a regular basis? Like it just seems like it's all an aesthetic thing. It's all a big
out
dollar.
Of jail or fighting to get 3 out of jail. That's nice.
I'm saying yes, they got 3 people out of jail, but there was also part of like again, and that was the first thing I acknowledged. I said that's a good thing, but like it's not really enough to outweigh I think the harm they cause, and it also works towards their brand, which isn't a bad thing. But I'm saying that like
I don't view it as it's not enough to undo their harm. I just believe as a collective, enough people are not doing enough to reduce the harm. But I think the Kardashians keep doing things like this. I think they're doing all right. They could always do more. They're rich as hell. That's always going to be the discussion. They can always do more. They can always do more. Fuck it. Do so much that you go into debt. Whatever. If more people went out and was proactive, more women that were appropriating features or appropriating things, if more people went out and fought for black people, it'll be amazing. But that's the reason why I started off my opening statement with, damn, I got so much bigger fish to fry, right? Because of the fact that these things exist, the fact that they went out and did these couple of things. So,
yeah, because it doesn't, because like I said, the Kardashians don't impact you. I feel like that's just a difference of
no, I think that I think no. And I don't want to put words in Beamer's mouth, is that I think that like I'm of the camp that you can fight these things. Like I'm of the camp of like you can fight the issues with blackfishing, you can fight the issues with cultural appropriation within beauty, but that I think is separate to what Beamer's problem is, where it's like they're like, even like we can acknowledge that, and again, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, like we can acknowledge that like the way that Kim navigates in a beauty standard is problematic, but she's still doing good for black people, but that can still go farther, even farther still. Like,
and it's hard to please everybody.
And we're talking about 3 individual black people. We're not talking like if she had like helping 3 black people versus like a team.
But why?
Why what?
Because what was the message behind those 3 individuals? Drug reform and prison reform, right? So it's like, I understand it's just 3 people, but there's some symbology there. The fact that some of these women were jailed for over 10 years or would have been incarcerated for longer than that for nonviolent drug offenses. These are the issue that I take quite seriously. So when they did this, I like the fact that they did this. And I also like that this gives me an excuse or a reason to bring up the fact on this panel that we need to do something about unnecessary incarceration of individuals who are just simply partaking in a substance. It's not a big fucking deal. We gotta fucking figure this out. And Kim agrees, and I think that's something extreme. If we can figure out if we did something about this as a whole, like, this would benefit the black community greatly. Prison reform, drug reform. So I think the Kardashians are pretty neat. I think this is pretty neat. It's a bigger picture than just 3 people. If more prominent women that love to appropriate did what they did, then I think we wouldn't be harping on this so much.
I just think a lot of black women feel differently on this.
Yeah, I know a lot of black women do feel this way because a lot of women are not putting it up nowhere near their fair share.
Let's go to Smooth.
So my main issue is that when people do these all this appropriation or whatever of our culture, they don't ever. What am I trying to say? They don't ever look back at us and actually like do something for the whole, or actually like position themselves. Like, okay, now I remember what I was trying to say. Really, like, I feel like they come to us to pop. Like, they'll cultural appropriate us long enough to pop off, and then they'll go away and they'll go back to their normal thing. And I think we got to stop allowing them to dip and dabble in black culture. Because we are what's popping. We are pop culture. Like, we literally are. Black people are pop culture. They come in. No, it financially benefits them to become more popular. They literally do it all the time. I mean, prime example, Miley Cyrus. She came over here. She started doing some rapping and all that other stuff. And then when she got popping, she went back to doing her normal thing.
Yeah, she got
and
married.
She talked down about rap.
Yes. Thank you. And then she said, "Oh, I blame it on the weed." Oh, she's a piece of shit.
Yeah. When stuff like that happens.
Oh, let me finish. Smooth, please.
Then you also have people like Justin Bieber does the same thing. He comes in, you know what I'm saying? He'll collab with a couple rap artists or whatever, but then he'll slide back off and do his white people only thing. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like,
we can hang on. I think Justin Bieber is a bit harder of an example to pin.
No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. No, it's not. He collaborates with tons of African
artists. Communities through his Christianity, and you can see him on interviews upon interviews of saying that, and you can make a stupid fucking face all you want to say it's not true. Like,
he has Martin Luther King on his interlude on one of his albums. Like, come on, please. I'm dead ass serious. I'm not joking right now.
Like, and all of the black media community would heavily disagree with you. What is this nonsense?
Yeah, and he gets dragged every time. He gets dragged every time he talks about black people. It's not an acceptable thing. They drag him all the time. He gets dragged by black people because they think he's full of shit. He gets dragged by white people because they think he's catering to the mob. Like, you can see it all over Twitter. Like,
what is it? Dan the Step said he felt uncomfortable when Justin Bieber was advocating for black people. Let me just throw him out there. I'll catch you later, bro.
I'll take back the Justin Bieber thing because that was a bad example.
Yeah, no, it's all good. Like,
which
Justin Bieber.
They can always do more. That's the problem.
The result is what you care about. It is not the act. You care about the act plus the result, not just the act itself, right? Because the act itself can produce neutral or positive good or results. So you care about the bad results, and I agree with you. Any cultural appropriation mask under appreciation and that produces bad results or harm to black people should be attacked, should be looked down upon. That's pretty obvious. But then if it doesn't do any harm, if it's neutral and there is no necessary harm against it, then we shouldn't be against it in totality, right?
I remember how AOC put on her like. And I don't have an issue with AOC personally, but like, y'all remember when she went to like the black, like the NAACP meeting and she put on her black voice? I'm talking to y'all, and that's all right. I was like, what is she
There's
got
no
going
way
on?
she-
Alexandria
first off,
Ocasio-Cortez.
Oh
She
my
learned it. She learned it from Hillary Clinton.
You
Okay, that's her mentor.
Bruh.
She learned, you know, she probably gonna throw some hot sauce in that purse too. You know.
I hate
even
when they
make-
kneel down with the kente cloth. I hated that.
Or even make claims about just because you live in the community and then by proxy you can talk about these things and understand the experience. It's like,
Calm down.
I'm from the south side of Detroit. I'm from the south side of Chicago. I know what it's like. All right, Tim.
I grew up
All right, Tim,
Nah,
relax.
bro.
You're
Yeah,
on a
like
skateboard,
it's
bro.
like, nah, bro. You don't know what it's like to be black. You know what it's like to be poor. Those are two different things.
Now
Two
put them
different
together, and
things.
what do you get?
Yeah.
You got a crazy concoction going on.
Yeah, but
Prom,
again,
is your chat pissed at us? They think we're crazy.
Don't worry about
some people saying some crazy shit, but they won't go on the
Thank you,
panel and
Prime.
defend it.
I mean, the chat. Always
Uh,
remember, chat has an issue. There's something called the open panel. But again, a
Yeah.
lot of y'all be all gassed up in chat, but y'all won't show face.
Prom, you've been out of it. What do you feel? I always ask you because you try to stay neutral. Where you stand?
Isn't he pro-trans, like transracial? So like he's in favor of.
Oh god, it's happening again.
Whoa, what?
Bro, where do
anyways.
you come with these fucking
Nah.
trains out of nowhere?
Hold up, I
Like,
gotta
didn't
hear
even
Prime.
expect that one.
Right now?
We disagree.
Prime said so. Remember? If you look black, you're black.
No, wait a minute. Yeah, hold on. But that's not what they're doing, right? But that, right? They're only.
I can't believe you just said that.
That's
mean-
what he said.
Hold on, let them cook.
I
Hold on.
really can't believe half the things that are going on this. This panel is crazy
Wait.
right now.
Look, don't let Prime dodge this. Let him address it.
No, wait. That's not
Can't
what these
believe you said
what
that. That was
Kardashians.
crazy. Don't let him get away with that, Prime.
No. Sang-Woo, be quiet. Let Prime answer this.
That's literally.
That's
he
not
said,
what they're
Be
doing.
quiet, Pyro. Don't tell me to be quiet
That's-
no more.
Listen, Sang-Woo, I will, like, just let Prime do this.
So that's not what they're doing. What Kardashians are doing. Kardashians aren't, and the people with Blackfish, right? They aren't actually trying to live in the shoes of black people, right? They're not engaging in transracialism, anything like that, right? They take a few pictures, for blackfishing celebrities with put the Kardashians aside for a moment. But blackfishing celebrities, they take a few pictures with heavy fucking makeup, right? Looking all mixed and shit, right? To get endorsements. That's different. That's different.
And I
What the
agree with you, man.
what the Kardashians doing with well, some of them. I don't even know what the fuck Kim's supposed to wear. I don't know, like, what's it's supposed to be surgical or not. Like, I don't know. People say, I don't know. Fucking, I don't know. I like to inspect, but like, I'm not gonna get that opportunity. But so I don't know what's going on with her. But assuming that, let's say, up and down, head to toe, she was fake. She's still not claiming to be black, right? She still has all the privileges of not being black, right? Of being close to whiteness, because I'm not sure her family's like quite white. I don't think she's like white, but she's close enough to whiteness that she gets those benefits. So no, this is not transracialism. So I wouldn't say these.
Yeah, there are many.
In fact, she specifically said,
it's not
Can-
transracialism because
Y'all
of the
talk too
result,
much, man.
Prime. And so you agree with me in terms of the act is okay, but how you interpret the act is bad, right? So like putting on makeup or the same act that you would do as a blackfish versus as a transracial person is literally the same, but how you interpret that is different from the person, right? One person is literally doing the same thing as another. It's two identical people, but one is saying I am black, I'm transracial. The other
No,
person
they're not doing the
is
same thing. I just said they're not doing the same thing. I keep saying they're not doing the same thing. They're not doing the same thing. Those are two different things.
Okay, listen to what I'm saying. You're not understanding me.
Okay.
Hypothetical situation right now. There is somebody who is transracial, wants to be transracial, changes their
Martina
hair
Big.
type, right? Just look at Rachel does a lot, tan her skin, and Martina, whatever he said.
She's an advocate.
Oh, no,
Right.
I had to push back.
The point I'm saying, when you change your hair type, change your skin tone, and say you're transracial, you can do the same thing and not say you're transracial. But as soon as you don't say you're transracial and don't actually believe you're black, you're blackfishing. Is that not true, Prime?
No, These aren't the same thing.
They cut that junk off and
What?
go home.
Okay,
they
all right,
went
hold on.
on.
How's it not
I've
the
been
same thing?
fighting. I've been fighting this debate for
Obviously,
2
it's
years
not
now.
the same thing. But I'm
My
saying,
man just digging the grave. I love it.
So,
Prime,
like,
Prime,
the-
explain to me what's the difference.
Blackfishing is you are profiting off
That's
it
what I
without
just
giving
said.
credit.
I said that.
So it's not the same thing.
I never said it's the same thing. I'm saying the way you make yourself look different is the same. That's the same thing.
No, no,
How
no,
you
no.
make yourself look different
Wait,
is
No, no,
different.
no, no, no.
That's
That
not the
part's not
problem.
the same. That part's not the same.
But it could be the same.
But it's not.
Why are you getting frustrated at us? Cause you digging yourself a hole,
I'm not
bro.
digging,
Like
but okay.
everyone
Are you
is being. Listen,
Are you
everyone is
getting
being
work?
insanely
We're not smart.
clear.
We're not
Dreams
smart enough to
might-
understand what he's
Listen,
talking about.
everyone's being
I love the way
insanely
Dreams
clear.
Mike peaks when he gets frustrated. It's
Even
like,
Day one
Azzy,
only, bro. Day one
even
only.
Azzy is being insanely clear. You
Sure, let
asked
me
your
calm myself
question.
down. It's
You
fine. Let me
you
calm
you
myself
throw
down.
Okay,
your
wait, so let me help,
hypothetical,
let me help.
and
Let
they
me help.
don't agree with it.
Don't help
Like,
him.
It's
I
really
can
easy.
try.
Just listen
I can
to
try to
this.
reset the floor. Sure.
They listen
Don't
like
help
8
him.
times.
You know
They
what? One
listen
more
like
time.
8 times,
Let me
dude.
try
They
one
ain't
more time.
buying it. They not buying what you
Okay,
selling.
let me try one more time. Just calm down, dude.
I don't want the Windex, my nigga. Like we heard it 8 times.
Okay.
Like
Go ahead.
literally
One
only
more
takes
try.
two or
One more
three
time.
Try
Give it a
again next
try.
week.
you know what?
Alright.
9 times the charm. Maybe I will buy it.
Okay. So,
I'm ready.
you are a white woman. You change your skin tone. You change your hair type. You say, I'm not really a black person. I'm not appropriating black culture. I'm just trying to look a certain way to benefit and let me profit off it. That's person A. Person B, they change their hair type. They change their skin tone. You know, voluptuous body, whatever. And they say, oh, I am now a black woman. How they got there to the conclusion is the same journey, but the destination is different. Understand what I'm saying? They use the same type of transportation. They both use cars, but they go into different cities. City A is cultural appropriation. City B is I'm a transracial person. If you're saying this is impossible, you're just
No,
out.
I'm
You're
not
in
saying
reality.
it's impossible,
Okay,
but I'm
so
saying-
I
We
think
don't want the Windex.
I think I see the problem. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try.
Sell us his pen.
So,
That's what he's
we
doing.
don't-
right now.
we don't want it.
Problem-
He's trying
the
to sell a pen
problem
right
that
now.
The problem that exists with
They'll bring it home,
transracialism
man.
and when people identify as transracial, I want to make it very clear, we are literally talking about 3 individuals in the world right now who identify as this. The problem is that when they transition to their new racialized identity, they believe in their heart of hearts that they have become that thing. The problem with blackfishing is that there's a level of intentionality that doesn't quite meet the bar, and that's the problem I have with distinction, like with the distinction of the two, with people who are identify as transracial and people who like go the next step are 2 different phenomena. It's like Rachel Dolezal identified herself as transracial, even though she argued that that's not really a full encapsulation of what she believes. But there are people like Martina Big who unironically believe that she is transitioned fully into a black woman and believes that she is a black woman. Like all the models, even that I mentioned earlier, except for the 2 examples that I would give are like Woe Vicky and really just Woe Vicky that I could find. Like Woe Vicky believes that she's black. Now, like,
She said,
does Nikita Dragon believe that she's black? No, she never made, like, these individuals never made that claim. That's why when I said earlier, the thing that they defend when they're saying like, oh, you just adopted these black features, is that they're like, no, like I've always had these features. And then when people bring receipts, it's like, nah, you just a white woman. Like, and no one's saying there's anything bad about that, but to say that you got these features through natural means has always been the problem.
So
Right, I
Is
agree
it
with
crazy that I feel
everything
like
Joe
Rachel Dolezal does the
Wait,
work?
hold on,
Rachel
let me-
Dolezal
to be
does black
Dream,
women.
don't be acting like you agree.
go ahead.
There's nothing he said that was wrong.
Go ahead, Django, give it a try. But like I still haven't been able to answer. Go ahead, Django.
I was just real quick gonna say, to be just perfectly clear, people have said that the problem isn't just that they're acknowledging it; it's also that it's happening. Just that's the only clarification
Correct.
I wanted to make. To be
Correct.
fair.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So I'll give it. So the thing is, why Rachel Dolezal is different from at least the people on social media that I'm talking about, right, is that they aren't living the life. All right, that's the problem. Is that so they take these pictures, right, and they put it on Instagram or wherever the fuck, right, and then what happens? They take a shower, right? They wash all that makeup off, and they're right back to that white privilege, right? They're not trying. These people aren't trying to live that life. Not like what Rachel Dolezal was doing. She went through a life. People thought she was a black woman, right? Like, and not just like when it was time to make money. It was 24/7, as far as I can tell about that woman, right? 24/7, she was trying to do that, right? That's different. That's hold on. Yeah, that's absolutely different from what these. So you're saying, well, these two things can be the same. Like, yes, I guess possibly it could be possible that a woman could do the same thing as Rachel Dolezal, right? Live life 24/7, but say, oh, I'm just doing it for the money. But like, that seems highly unlikely that a person would do it. A person like that would like want their white privilege right back, right? That they wouldn't do those things. I don't think it's, I guess, technically possible, but I don't think the two different mindset gives birth to two different types of actions.
But you can make the argument that Rachel Dolezal still has her white privilege, especially now that people know that she's white.
But she didn't choose to do that. She was the vice president of
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter her choice.
Hold on, I just gotta run through why she did the work. She was like the vice president of a NAACP chapter. She was she went to HBCU as a black woman. She applied to college as a black woman. She's applied to every job in her life.
Don't say that, man. These are self-hating black men.
Like, it's crazy. It was crazy the length she went to, and she, like I said, the girl did the work.
I want to set the floor a little bit because there's a lot of, oh my God, it's happening. There's a lot of misinformation on Rachel Dolezal. Okay. She never claimed ever to be a black woman. The only reason her race was brought into question is because her parents posted a photo claiming that she's posing as a black woman. Her parents did that. She never did that. She was living her best life, just doing her thing. Like, if her thing had problems, absolutely. But her parents brought that idea of questioning her race into the forefront and into the limelight. She said this on multiple interviews. Like, she was just living her life just as an ordinary person, had ordinary advocacy, and then all this other stuff came into place. And then what's really interesting, which is why I don't like using Rachel Dolezal as an example, is that she never stopped. So something else is going on there. Because like, if you were to get exposed and doing something for financial gain, you would think that once you're outed, you're fucked. Like, the grift is up. But Rachel Dolezal has a YouTube channel that she posts regularly online, and she has not changed her appearance, her aesthetic, or anything that she advocates for. Even after the shit that went down for her job, she's still the exact same woman. So in my mind, I'm like, shit, there's something else that's going on here culturally that the current like way that we approach culture broadly can't really answer. Because again, like, she never posited that she was a black woman, and then people were just saying, like, well, look at her, she's clearly acting like she's a black, and it's like, okay, well, if you interrogate her, she's clearly saying that there's something else happening there. That's why I think Martina Big is a better example, because this is a racially identifiable white German woman who actively did all these things, and it's on record saying, like, as I change, I feel myself becoming a black woman, and those two things are so separate. Like, yeah,
I agree with you, Joe. This is why
Smooth, if you can mute yourself, please. Go ahead.
So the addition to this is that what I'm hearing from you is it's not the act doesn't matter inherently. What matters is how long it's being done and why it's being done.
You skip
right, and it's I'm talking about changing your look to look like a black woman. That in itself is not inherently a bad thing. That's what I want to try to.
That's not blackfishing. Blackfishing is you're taking ownership.
I agree.
You're taking ownership and taking credit for the.
I said that,
the look.
But I just said. I agree.
Something that I think is. And again, I don't think we're, as a society, quite ready for it yet, but we see it every once in a while, where we have people who are racially identifiably white, and then they assimilate into non-white cultures. And then the question is, like, at what point is it racial and what point is it ethnic? And we see we see it every once in a while. Like, there was a bit, or not a bit, there was a whole special about Asian rappers, and God, who was it? Ebro interviewed this Asian rapper who just grew up in the hood and grew up around black people. And like, he adopted the aesthetic of the people around him. He adopted the vernacular of the people around him, and he rejected everything that was his birth culture. And then the question is, like, is that okay? And I don't think we have an answer for that quite yet. Because I think that people do have a level of racial identity as a society broadly that we feel very strongly about. So when we see people, even though we know like the floor of race is bullshit and not necessarily something that's like real in society, and we just reinforce it, like, we see people who are outside of these racialized norms, and then we start getting uncomfortable, like, wait, what the fuck is going on here? And I think, like, on one hand, I think we do have to interrogate these people. Like, as an example, every model who got like pushed back on blackfishing, they went through the Turing test of like, why are you doing this? And then they all say things like I mentioned earlier that are like really weird. Like, they'll say like, oh, my parents are from Armenia. And it's like, okay, cool, no one, okay. And it's like, I have olive skin because of that. And I just hit puberty and now I have like big breasts and hips. And it's like, is that possible? Sure.
Let me address this real quick, all right? I think the most important thing to remember out of all of that is ban wiggle. Have a great night, everybody. I'll catch you on next time.
God bless America. Support our troops.
Hell yeah.
And ban wiggle.
Yeah.
But time in New Jersey recently. He deserves our respect.
So, that's okay. So I think yeah. I mean, I look, the lies that you see on social media, like, they do lie, and they say that absolutely, oh no, this is just me naturally, right? I think that's part of the problem. I would respect them more if they were honest about like the grift, right? You know, it's like, look, this is what it is.
The Mr. Girl take, let's go.
Would you be fully okay with it if they just admitted it?
I think it'd be easier to drag them.
I guess I want to isolate that part of the issue, because I understand that, like, because my interpretation of blackfishing was just the act of them trying to look black when they're not. I didn't know that was like, the assumption is also that they're lying about it. I thought that was a separate part that's optional. If that's required, then yeah, that's one thing. But so let's say someone's blackfishing but being honest about it. Is that then an issue?
I would say yes. I mean, yeah. I would say, I would say yes. Yeah, I would say yes.
Would you classify it as blackfishing though? Because
Fishing requires lying. It's
Is that
which means
this
like,
honestly implies
pretending, lying about who you are.
I mean, like, is
I've
Nikita
never heard
drag?
defined by that, but I'll assume you're probably correct, because I think that's the assumption everyone's going by. So I'm probably the incorrect one.
like blackfishing is off the term catfishing. Catfishing is you're lying about who you are. If you're saying I'm changing my appearance to look like a black person, that's not really lying. That's being really honest.
Yeah.
It's just culture.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, I guess
Yeah, but the concept is that by on glance you look one way. That's not
I
necessarily
found her.
saying you're lying about it.
I'm so happy. I found her.
Okay.
Guys, okay.
But it's still,
Okay.
still
I
cultural.
found the complicated one.
Okay.
The name I forgot and I remembered it. So the model's name is Elijah. And Elijah is the very thing that I'm describing. Like, where when she got dragged for essentially adopting stereotypically like black feminine features, she basically said like it was just because of puberty. I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna put it in the group thingy-majigger, and then I'm gonna put the actual article in chat. And the problem is, like, when you look at the pictures that the internet dragged up side by side, I don't know if, I mean, maybe genetics work like that, but last time I checked,
Wait, you're posting it, man.
Okay.
He's pretending to be black.
Yeah, let's see that. Yeah, put that in the group DM if you could, please.
I did. There we go.
Dog.
Like,
That's pretty bad.
yeah, and like
It's not in the group
What was
DM.
that?
It's not in the group
it's
DM.
on the group DM?
Yeah.
No.
Or did you put it in the BC chat?
sorry. I put
I get
questions
naturally from the
sedimentary.
sun.
Okay.
I
Oh,
really
yeah, I
feel like
remember.
we're
That sun
missing a
fucked you up.
we're missing a big proponent of why blackfishing is a problem. Like we've talked around it. We talked about it hurts black people, but it really is like you are like attributing to yourself social currency while you're trying on, like we're accessorizing it and we're owning it, and like we'll say it comes from other white nations or white people, but at the same time, what really is like disturbing is the fact that what was I trying to say? Because I was listening, I was losing this point. I should have wrote it down. What I wanted to say is, oh man, I'm losing it. It's like it becomes. I got it. It doesn't just, it creates a culture where it has not just short-term but long-term effects, where it creates like body dysmorphia, where people feel a need, like it's not even just black girls, it's just like girls in general will be hurt by these types of looks, because this is so popular, in society, everyone wants to look like it. And you see like even the normal people are losing their lives trying to get BBLs to look like this. People are like are like overeating, or like they're going through such crazy means just to try to appeal to this look. So and then on top of that is like all the harm that it does to black culture.
Okay. All right. I got a question then. That's slightly different, but along the same lines. Now you've all heard it, every single one of you here, right? People talking about how they got Native American genes, right? How they got that Native American good hair or whatever the fuck, right? Is that a problem? Especially black people do this. Like white people do this too. But I think there's a big thing in the black community, right? When they won't say like, well, I'm not just black. Certainly not. No, I've got Native American. I'm Sioux, right? I got like Sioux blood or something else like that. Is that a problem?
Absolutely. I feel like it's anti-blackness. I mean, yeah, sure, maybe, sure. There's nothing wrong with like acknowledging like everything you are. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it stems from a deep level of anti-blackness, like internalized anti-blackness, that we've come to a conclusion that we feel like being black isn't good enough. Like I'm black, but I'm not that kind of black. I'm a different kind of black. And this extended like heavily into like Central America and South America. Like if you talk to, I have a close friend, they're Dominican, and they say that like they're black, but they say like none of my family's black though. And I was like, that's, you know what that means? Like, we know black poppy. Like, no, I'm not like that. I'm not like that. I'm different. And it's it's all from an internalized level of deep rooted anti-black.
Well, this is another example of where intent matters. So it just obviously it matters why you're saying what you're saying. So if you're just saying, hey, I'm part Native American, and you're like, I'm also proud of that, that's good. Obviously, if you're saying, hey, I'm also Native American, to like lower the value of your blackness or heighten the value of your blackness, right? You're lowering it, saying I don't want to be too black, but heighten it in terms of saying, oh, I'm black plus, right? Not just black. So that's a bad thing, obviously, because you're stigmatizing blackness. And I like what Prime said in examples, like I got that good hair. Like it makes me so uncomfortable when black people say that. Like obviously my hair is like 3A, and so I don't have as like 4C coarse hair. And it's like even black people was telling me like you got that good hair, and it's like it makes me so uncomfortable here. There's like I don't think there's good hair. Like good hair exists in all hair types. So that is the internalized like racism there. So
we use these things to like devalue like what it means to be black in the first place sometimes. Like hair is like kind of the way where it kind of manifests itself for sure, But definitely, if we sat here and like interrogated a bit, we can probably think of like other ways. Like, I mean, we can look at the whole like the weeb renaissance, where basically the entire like it started out with like, hey, niggas watch Dragon Ball, and then it got a level deeper, and then it's like, hey, niggas watch Naruto, and then it's like another level deeper. Hey, niggas somehow still watch One Piece, and then it gets another level deeper.
That was rude.
Rude? Is it?
Oh man. Well, I'll take
No, but I guess like the point is that like
that outside.
progressively we found out that like Black people are not monolithic on the things that they watch and they consume, and everybody watches and consumes things differently. And this kind of happened probably around all of our observable realities. Like for the longest time, like we weren't allowed to like do these things, and now we're at a point where it's like, yeah, nobody really cares. Well, except for me, I'm an anti-weeb. But
Did y'all know Cardi B doesn't identify as black?
I think she identifies as mixed, which
Oh,
is
something
white
like
plus.
She said Afro Latina in a tweet, I believe.
She said that I think she's actually Dominican, and she was saying like her ancestors are rooted in African. Like she admitted that much, but she's not necessarily black. She says the only reason she says the N-word is not because she's black. She says it's because it's New York culture, which I thought that was
yes, the Vlad video, the Vlad interview. Oh, that's dog shit.
What?
Okay, so way back before when Vlad TV was a piece of shit and interviewed anybody and everyone, before he gave that shit to Adam 22, he had Cardi B on. He had, and it's all problematic. And Cardi B, like this is before anybody really knew her. She was still stripping, and then she just said some crazy shit about the N-word. And it's like, and she kept like, it's okay for me to say that. And Vlad's a piece of shit. So he's like, but what about the black people that you like that could potentially like take offense in that? And she's like, are they paying my bills? It's like, oh, look.
All she had to say was I'm black, but she couldn't say that. She was like, like it's the culture. I don't know, it's what I do. I probably shouldn't, but
yeah,
she's not the smartest person, so let's not give her too much.
Yeah, if you dig, you can find it. But she has a lot of really interesting perspectives on her identity. Is there anything wrong with that? No, but it's a thing that
I wouldn't say Cardi B is not smart. I think she's actually quite intelligent. I think people underestimate her, but like that take what? No, I mean like first of all, you black, right? I don't know where this is coming from. Your ass is black. And then on the other hand, to say that like, oh, but I'm definitely not black, but I'm gonna be taking on this word, and it's the culture. Fuck out of here with that shit. This is the New York culture. No, it ain't. No, it ain't.
That's wrong. Listen, that's some fucking Cuomo shit. I'm not a sexual offender. I'm just Italian. Like, nah, bro. That's not the culture. You are what? Like, no, don't put it on the culture. You just weird.
But and then what's funny about that, Pyro, is that if you go to the place where it shouldn't go, you can make some really awful assumptions about Italian people. Which is the same thing where it's like, if you say like, oh, I can say these things just because of the culture. It's like, okay, are you saying that all Italian people are sexual predators? No, it's just our culture. We just do okay, but that's not really engaging with what I'm saying right now. And it's like, you don't want to go into those like ridiculous stereotypical rabbit holes when people like cater to the culture as the justification as the means of them.
I'm somewhat of a nigga myself.
Yes, I do speak fluent Negro.
Curious, is that the DMX playing in your stereo?
It is one with the culture, you must understand. It's a custom, you see. Now, like, if you'll excuse me, I must go roll a blunt, if you will. Like, no, that's not how it works.
And it's like, when DMX says, what up, what do you say? And it should be, for most people, what? But or just get a black friend and have them say it for you. It's okay. It's a very easy solution. Very easy.
Hire your black friend to stand next to you 24/7.
So, but I'm curious about like the Native American thing. For the rest of you, like, just think of the problem and how much your problem do you think it is? So, people who haven't talked yet, like Pyro, and then we'll go to the rest of you.
Yeah, I think it's a problem, but like the problem I see with it is like when and it was hit on a lot earlier by like a lot of the people here, like when people try and use it as that like, oh look, I'm not just black, and like my first question is like, what's the problem with being black? Like I get it, like if you're like just reaching into your heritage and like you learned about that shit and like you excited, like I get that. Like I learned recently that like part of my family came from Jamaica. The fuck do like I don't know shit about Jamaica. I'm about to learn all that shit. But it's like I'm not gonna hold that up and try and use that to like take away from a part of myself or like denigrate a part of myself or use that as an excuse like, oh no, I'm not just American, you guys, I've also got this little bit of Jamaican in me. Like to me that just is like a little bit weird. Like I should be able to be happy with who I am. Like I don't understand like the alternative. Like no, I gotta cover up for a part of me. Like what's the negative there? Like what are you saying about black people by being like, oh no, I'm not just a black guy. No, I'm also native. Like that's where the good hair comes from. Like okay, black people got good hair too. Like y'all ain't see the shit we can do with hair. Like bro, braid that shit up. That shit's fire. Like let's be real. So it's like
Isn't that like a big East Coast issue right now? Like that, like where people like aren't just black. Like you can't just be Black American. You have to be like
Don't do this.
Haitian or
Please.
Trinidadian or Jamaican. There's like
no,
and
yeah,
there's-
no,
do
and
this.
like, and that's how like I can only speak from it from the East Coast. Like that's where a lot of it comes from for me. It's just like, yo, I'm not just black. I'm not just like hood rat ghetto. I'm also this extra other thing that's exotic and new. So like
Not
maybe
about
take it.
being extra
And
is
it's
that
weird.
it's not about being extra. It's like you literally have a whole heritage and people tend to just group you into the group.
Let's
They
go.
just group you in and see you as a whole, a part of this monogamous group, and people want to hold on to that identity from which they're a lot of their ancestors, or if not, like their close relatives are from.
Smooth.
Yeah, I feel like it stems from the thing that a lot of stuff that's in our culture right now, everybody wants to feel special and unique. Therefore, to be lumped in as just black is kind of like insulting to them. So, like the statement I heard was, they was like, "Oh, you're such a I think what did she say? She said to the other girl, she said, "Oh yeah, you're a pretty black girl." No, I'm not just black. You see this hair? Like I got like a quarter Native American, and I and everybody else was just in the room just staring at her like, was that necessary? Like you could have just said like, hey, I'm kind of offended by you calling me like just a black girl or whatever it was, because it wasn't enough of a percent. Like see where she said she got the Native American from, I was like, bro, you can't even get a benefit from that. Like they're not even gonna recognize you. The tribe's just gonna look at you like you're crazy. Like they're not gonna own you. Like you're so far removed from it, and then you never lived any part of your life this way. So,
but that doesn't matter.
That
Doesn't matter. You don't need to live
What?
your life that. Like for example, Pyro just found out he's Jamaican. Did you not? So
Yeah.
he could still
No,
identify.
but
as
that's not what I was saying though. You just latched onto something to find.
Okay, but
something to
why'd
say.
you add that in? If it doesn't
So
matter.
here's the thing. No. What I'm saying is, her saying that Native American piece, she was downplaying her own blackness. That's
Okay.
literally what it is. That's what I was saying. She was downplaying her own blackness. It's just the same as when somebody goes, I'm not just, wait, hold on, you calling me black? I'm not black. I'm Haitian. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm saying? And you were born here. You know what I'm saying? And like your last 2-3 generations were born here. But you're just typed in that
Okay.
you grab hold to that identity to make yourself special. That's what I'm saying.
I'm
I
always.
just want to push back on like there's nothing wrong with you trying to make yourself, there's nothing inherently wrong with trying to make yourself seem more special, because that could boost your own self-esteem in your own eyes. Like I would
I don't think
like
it's a problem with the self-esteem. I think it's a problem with like how offended some people get when it's like, oh, like you're let's say you get like one of those old white people that are like, oh, you're a nice young black man, and then you're like, what? I'm not black. It's like, okay, but why are you getting so offended? Like it's a quick it's a quick course correction. Like, and like a lot of Asian people have to deal with this. Like, oh, I'm not Chinese, I'm actually Vietnamese. Like a lot of people, when they have to deal with like those type of corrections, like when it comes to their identity, like I wonder why people get so offended when it's like, oh, I'm not this, I'm this. Like, is there something wrong with being this other? If like someone like just can't tell, like when we're
I feel like
talking
that's
about
fair
like,
with ethnicity though.
yeah,
Like it
It's-
is a big
that's
difference between being Chinese and Korean. Like I feel like that would be like every Asian person isn't Chinese. Like that's incorrect. But like
Yeah,
you
it's like
are
calling
like,
me
if,
Algerian.
but your race, you are black. Like at the end of the day, and I think that's actually quick show of hands. Like anybody who's comfortable. I'm just curious for this section. Who in here is Black American? And I assume
I am.
both sides.
I'm an African American, not Black American.
Oh, I don't care if one or the other.
I mean, no. Okay, yeah.
Oh.
I mean, because I was wondering how it impacted our opinions on people's opinions on.
no,
things.
like that's why I gave my opinion. Like I'm a Black American. Like other than like a little bit of Jamaican, a little bit of like I can't trace Native American. My culture's Tennessee, bruh. Like my culture's
Hell
Arkansas.
yeah, brother.
Like, and we can trace that shit far back and be like, oh, we were doing shit in Arkansas and Tennessee, and then we get to the 1800s, and then it gets
Where are my K Conus in the
like-
chat, brother?
Marcus,
okay.
Like, it depends.
Okay, thank you. Gotta hold it down.
I have a
Right.
concern. I don't know where it fits. Because okay, listen. I just want to say, fuck Hoteps, fuck first settler Black Americans. God, fuck you two pieces of shit. Because I know way too much about dumbass bullshit, and anytime I hear it, my brain like waves the flag and like blows the whistle. Okay, so like
That whistle must be constantly blowing when you say something.
yes, it does. Because deep down inside, maybe I'm just fighting what my true identity is. A Hotep who believes that Black Americans are the first settlers in the United States. No, that's not it. Like
I used to believe that.
I'm concerned because you have like the Isaiah Thomases, the Waka Flocka Flames, the Busy Bones, who unironically believe that Black people in the United States are actually the real Native Americans.
Oh,
So
boy.
they will say things like they are 100% Native American, and that the tribes in the United States are illegitimate, and that their hair, like the Native American hair that they taught as like Native American, is actually Black people's. It's like New Jersey has way too many of these people, and it sucks because like it's just. I believe it's just sort of internal. It's a lot of things. I think it's internalized racism. I think it's internalized bigotry, bias, and stereotypes. But I also think it's just Americans, by and large, in this case, Black Americans, who got stripped of their humanity so much so that they make up these narratives to try to justify their existence in the United States because they have no other way to track it.
Wait, Joe, are Black people with untraceable Native American heritage the problem, or is it Black people who don't have any Native American heritage but saying that they're the first they're the original Native Americans the problem?
Yeah, I don't know if I made that clear. Like the problem that I have is that there are Black people who believe that Native Americans that we know of, indigenous people, are not real, and they're actually our ancestors. But it's not like indigenous people, Black Americans. It's the reverse. It's Black Americans, indigenous people. So we're at the top of the what's it called? I was gonna say genetic line, but that's not the thing I'm looking for. The word I'm looking for. The
settlements, historical settlements,
like
pyramid.
this historical like settlements line. Like we were here first, and then there are offspring, and that's just not true.
So like, if I understand
And-
Joe's point, like the problem is like there's a bunch of people like, and we're talking America, we're focused on America. There's a bunch of people who are like aren't satisfied or have to find a reason to justify themselves being in America and in a position, and like in doing so, like they're kind of just like fucking over any type of record, any type of historical record, to be like, nah, it wasn't the Native Americans. We were here first, and they got everything from us, and like we're the progenitors of culture and shit, and like. Those type of people, I think I see where Joe's coming from. I've ran into a few of them up here in New York.
I mean,
keep that in
I-
New Jersey,
I
though.
was radicalized by those people. They call themselves, or a lot of them, they're part of a group called the Moorish Science Temple.
Yes, that's one of them. That's one group.
So,
Man, they
and then
be
you- and then-
outside crazy.
huh?
I said they be outside going crazy. I ran into
Sovereign
them.
Yeah,
citizens.
you got the Moorish Science Temple, and then you got the Hebrew Israelites. They be doing that shit too.
Yeah, and like I guess what concerns me is that like yes, like it's possible for Black Americans in the United States to have different sort of ambiguous ethnic traits within their family history. Like for example, my one friend, he found out like he did the whole thing. He did the 23andMe. He spit in the jar. He got so excited, and then like he's dark as fuck, and he's like, "Why did so much of Europe just light up for me, and not a lot of Africa?" And it's like, where did you grow up? And he's like, and then like he found out through like interrogation that his family grew up in what we now know as like central Mexico and northern Texas. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. It's probably an uncomfortable conversation that you might have with your family if you want to go down that road. But yeah, like colonization is such a piece of shit that it's totally possible for you to have Spanish roots in the United States. It's totally possible for you to have obviously we know this from Louisiana. What do they call themselves down there? Louisianans?
Creole? You talking about
Creole,
Creole
like
people? No.
yeah, like Creole folks who have French roots in them, like French and African roots. Like this is a totally acceptable thing, but for a lot of people, it's kind of jarring to believe that like we didn't like our heritage didn't exclusively come from Africa or something. And I think I don't want to. I expelled these people out of my life years ago, but I think that's where the desire of like wanting something additional exists. Like the understanding that like, yeah, colonization wasn't just the idea of like picking up people and putting them in another area. It's like it was way more nefarious, that had like consequences with births, consequences with heritage, consequences. When I say births, I mean like we can hopefully connect the lines there here, where it's like obviously like women were raped for the perpetuation of capital and individuals, like, and that creates like ambiguity in who people are. And I think if you fall down that road too deep, like with like Moors or first generation Black American, I forget what they call them, like a totally other group, like
what, ADOS?
They call them Aborigines. That's what they like to call them.
yeah, some like
The
Aborigines.
And if you listen to their arguments long enough,
Australian.
like if you listen to the
is a term for everybody. Any nation has Aboriginal people.
Yeah, like, and if you listen to their arguments long enough and you're hesitant just enough about your identity, you might get sucked in.
This is something that's like that probably most people in chat won't understand, but I feel like most people in this room will. Like it can be really, like, if you really think about it, it can be depressing to think about, like, if you don't have any connection to Africa, which most Black Americans don't, like the beginning of your people's history, as far as you know, being associated with being, chattel, like being like, and that, I think that's where not wanting that to be the beginning, and even though you don't have like a real history to map onto, like creating something better can just it's like, it's for a lot of people's psyche. But what I remember, I don't know what grade y'all did it. I'm sure y'all did something similar at some point. In some grade in elementary school, or in elementary school, you had an assignment where you had to do a research project or a flag, something related to your family crest, probably. And
it's not the family crest yet. I had like the discover your family tree.
And then when, like, I remember looking up my family crest and doing the research, because my teacher didn't think to account for like that concept of having Black students, because I went to a predominantly white school, and figuring out that, like, oh, my people are Irish, huh? So then I went home and I tried to explain to my brother, are we Irish? And he was like, nah, we not. And I was like, well, that's what the research says. And then come and figure out, no, my family was probably owned by Irish people. And that, okay.
See, I had the benefit of not having those delusions. I grew up in a predominantly Black area. So it's like, we did get the family crest, because it's like, y'all black, y'all can't afford a family crest. Y'all can get a tree. Y'all get
They
trace
made me
y'all
make one.
family tree, and it's like we ran into the problem of like, cool, we can trace our family tree.
Back to grandma.
No, like back to like maybe great grandma if you lucky, and then it gets fucking muddy. It gets muddy as shit, and it's like, yeah, the education system, a lot of these systems don't take into account that like y'all motherfuckers, when y'all colonized this place and enslaved a bunch of people and then outlawed the transatlantic slave trade, but been like, yo, y'all can breed slaves here. Y'all didn't keep good records. Like y'all just wasn't good at
Spanish
this. So, like,
did.
yeah, but like in
Had them
America,
hoes
like
insured.
yeah, like shit, they had fucking legends.
But you could
but,
buy
like,
your way up. Imagine
in,
that. Imagine.
in America, it's like it's hard to trace a lot of that shit back. It's like we fought a war for it. It's like, yo, I can trace my family tree back up until like the Great Fire of 1864, because that's when the fucking courthouse burned down. And anything before that, lost. Like,
My teacher was a piece of shit. I mean, you guys know I'm adopted. Like my teacher made me do like my mom's heritage because I was like, I'm adopted, but I don't know. It's like, well, what about your parents now? And I'm like, okay. I still have the project somewhere in storage. Shit was brutal. Like,
Yeah, you
my
said I
mom
had
has-
to do this project. I had to go over like Irish history. Like this was my family. Like, no, I should have. Like, if I was older, if I was me now, if I could go back and have my like redo machine, I would go back and I would say my people was enslaved by your people.
Listen, like another one of those projects I always got, and it's just like, how do I answer this as like a black person? Like, what time period in the distant past would you want to live in? And I'm like,
now,
word,
yesterday, preferably.
word, now, yeah, like I get like now, like, well, why do you say that? And I'm like, it's third grade. Do you want to talk about some shit? Like, come on, like my grandmother gave me the Emmett Till talk at like 4. Like, let's be real. Like, nah,
Even
I'm not gonna play around with it.
we can watch any movie we want right now. Why would we want to go back to any other time? You're like, I'm hungry. Let me get this fucking device. Look, mine fucking flips. Welcome to the future, dog. Like, I can go get some fucking DoorDash and they ship that shit on my doorstep. I don't want to go to the 90s. Sure, they had that long ass like 10-foot pizza at Pizza Hut, and you can get like that and 2 drinks for $10, and like maybe that's kind of nice, but
I'm
man,
just like, I'm just thinking about my people, like my classmates and my friends who like talk about that shit. Like, and it's like, you would go back to like the 50s. It's like, it looks nice. It was beautiful. It was like, bro, it wasn't beautiful for me. Nah, the back of the bus, I can't see the happy times. I can't see like, you know, golden age America, my nigga. I'm at the back of the theater. Like, nah, it wasn't good for some people. And it's like, can't enjoy that with y'all. I'll be sent
like,
back and it's like, nah, not fun. Sorry.
I feel like there's like something liberating about finding out where you're from, and I feel like a lot of Black Americans kind of lack that liberation from not knowing where they're from. And I thought I knew where I was from until I was 18. Then I found out my whole life was a lie, because I grew up thinking I was ethnically Arab. And then when I was 18, I took a DNA test, and I found out I wasn't ethnically Arab. I was just lied to. The Arabs just did a great job in colonizing Morocco, making everybody there is Arab. But I'm actually like, I'm a Zigan, like indigenous tribe in North Africa. And so when I like, and this is like a 96%. It's not like, oh, he's like 25%. It's like I'm 96%. So when I found that out, I was like, oh shit, I gotta like ditch my identity. I'm not Arab. I'm just like culturally Arab at most, but I'm a Zigan now. And I did my research and my stuff. It's like, it just felt like so much liberating. Even though I felt betrayed by my country and like the way I grew up. It's like, why did they do this to me? So it's like, I feel like that's just a big like thorn in like Black America's like like not ideology, but like identities, like not knowing where it's from.
I think
that's something that foreign
Yeah.
people. Something that foreign people don't get. Like and I've dealt with my African friends. Like, yo, bro, don't you want to figure out where you from? And I'm from America. I'm from Georgia.
Yeah, like I'm from Tennessee, bro.
And then they're like, no, but like before that, and I'm like, bro, this is
I think on the surface level that makes sense, right? But I'm talking about like when you dig deeper into that, it's like.
But why can't America be deep enough for us? Like I think
Well,
that's part of the
like,
problem.
I understand where you coming from,
I'm not
Bam,
saying it's
but
not
like,
deep enough.
No,
not
I
saying
understand where I understand where you're coming from, Dream. Because like I did this, like I found out a little bit of shit about my shit. Like one of the biggest barriers I had, like when doing this, and like maybe it was the program I used. I forgot. Like it wasn't the official like 23andMe, but like one of the things I had is like it pointed to a general area of Africa, and like I'm
Yeah.
not sure for any of like the motherfuckers who read books here, but like Africa's a big ass continent, my nigga. Like you telling me I'm from Southwest Africa? The fuck does that mean? Like, there's a bunch of tribes in Southwest Africa because of the colonial borders that were drawn that like weren't necessarily there 300 fucking years ago when my first ancestors were brought over here. So like, when like I look into these things, it's like I can't even get connected because it's like I don't know. I don't know. Like,
And then-
are my people still there? Like, what the fuck is actually up? And then like some
And
of
to
these
make-
DNA things don't do it that well.
Yeah, I would even say like if we got to cater to one part of the demographic of the audience, right? Is that I think that like colonialism and who we are also affects pretty much almost everyone in America. Giant asterisk with exceptions in fine print. Like something that I'm noticing more and more, especially now since white Americans by and large are getting more sort of like aware of their racialization in America, is that they'll use their ethnicity to sort of dismiss the racialization in the United States, where like you'll just be like, you're white, and it's like, I'm not white, I'm Irish, and it's like, okay, that doesn't
I'm not white.
change
I'm
my
1/14th, like, you know,
Like,
Australian black like, okay,
and,
you know
and I
what you
think
is.
that, yeah, I think to an extent, like colonialism did also affect, God, it's gonna sound so weird to say, it did affect a lot of Americans who have colonized, like I'm gonna say colonizer roots, but essentially that, where it's like the way that what we know as white is in America manifested itself, it sort of normalized, like white just became normal. And then any type of ethnic difference, religious difference just kind of got like lost into the forefront. We kind of see this fight a lot, like specifically with like Jewish Americans, Irish Americans, Israelis, like, and it's really interesting to see it like manifest itself in real time. And then like on the other hand, you have Black Americans where it's like, it must, like we don't have, for a lot of us, we don't have a place to start. Like we have like this arbitrary, like sure, maybe if you're lucky, if you're
Wait, no,
like,
I can start in Tennessee. Don't you understand?
yeah, like, but like when it can't, but then like, to, I think you mentioned it, like when it came to like, okay, like let me try to like find my roots, you go like, oh, like you can go check this library that kept a track of all the people, and it's like, oh, where's that library? Oh, it's a Starbucks now. And it's like,
It's like
okay.
it's like oh, like here are the records of where like they kept the incoming slaves, and they, oh, but it burnt down in 1805, and then they rebuilt it several times, but then it was destroyed in the Civil War, and then it's like, so I'm not finding that piece of paper, am I? Because they didn't do copies. Like,
You know, if y'all trying to
Yeah.
go back far, like for most of y'all, it's probably Charleston. that's where they built. That's where the dock was. Most of y'all probably got off the ship at Charleston and moved from there. But yeah, so Charleston
Okay.
was like the biggest slave.
All right. Well,
This is
oh man.
Yeah, and like, and that's
Listen,
not
we
to say
exhaust-
like, even like white Americans, right? There is a level, unless you have like a deep ethnic tradition within your family, like there is a level of separation. Like my mother was Irish, she could pin her history of Irish, she knows exactly what day. Like my mom was from, she's literally one of those Ellis Island motherfuckers where you can go to see like my family's name like as people who immigrated here in the United States. However, my mom has no connection to Irish anything, nor did my father with German anything. But like I've always found it interesting when like you know this kind of truth for some people, and they use that ethnic justification to sort of like absolve themselves from like certain problems.
I deal
it's
with
like
that
an-
a lot with
Yeah.
my friends, where it's like I talk about like America and the injustices with black people. It's like, well, don't worry about that. Like, I know I'm from the South and I've been living in like fucking Georgia forever, but like we're actually from Ireland, so it's okay. And it's like, I'm not sure if
As
that's
some-
how it works.
As somebody who's actually like, I've been called by black people and by non-black people who thought I was other than, like, I've had Sudanese people come up to me and think I was Sudanese and speak to me in their native language just because I looked like almost ambiguous, but I know what my family looked like, and they would be perceived as African American. And then you come to realize that you had a living ancestor, like your great grandmother was Native American, but she just wouldn't talk about, you know, what tribe she was from. So you know you have you have some type of native indigenous ancestry, but you just can't identify at it. And if you try to claim it, people will, both sides will hold it against you. Like I've experienced that, so I understand. You know, I understand that it can be problematic in ways, but I understand the opposite side. Like, I want to claim this because I know I have it, but I just can't talk about it. Yeah, it's unfortunate.
Well, do you think it's possible? I mean, I think you probably would agree it's possible. I think you can do a level of like exploration of sort of like ethnicities that you find out, right? Like something that I've like. We go for it, sorry.
I found, like, we did the ancestry.com, and then like they'll tell you the subs.
Oh.
Yo, audio
Anything.
fucking up, Azzy.
Yeah.
Oh, it's
Say
mine?
that
My
again,
bad.
Ozzy.
It
You
literally
had a
could be
mean
like
lag spike.
it was a lag spike.
Yeah, it was a deep spike.
Yeah.
So I think
So
we're good
try redo it. What were you gonna say?
I did the ancestry.com with my family, and you'll get the sub-Saharan African. Like, you really don't know what that is. That could be like anywhere from like Nigeria to like Middle East, not the Middle East, but like it could be anywhere within that. Like, you don't
It's
know
a
because
big
there's
part
been so
of the
much
continent. Like, they
there's
just give
been
you a
so
fucking
much-
region.
there's been so much dilution, and there's not enough like historical like data. Like, I have no idea where to pinpoint my history, but I'll get like Native American. I got Native American in it. I got like the sub-Saharan African, and I forgot the rest, but those were the main.
There's African specific ones that you you need to do if you want to like get involved down the tribes, because like any like general 23andMe type or ancestry.com type of situation is just gonna go like nation, like nation to continent area. But yeah, black people, we have to do a very specific African based.
So we got to do a double order to get our ancestry. And it's like,
It's
y'all
kind
can
of
say that.
unfortunate because it becomes
Not
a
doing
barrier entry. Like, I gotta do this specific just to, and then I don't know how much it costs. How much is it?
I haven't done it. I had a friend that did it though, so I have no
Yeah,
idea.
it could
I
become a
assume it's about
huge barrier entry, and then people are just like, "Hey, I don't care. I just know what I got, and this is what I am."
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I understand people who have that desire. I just never have. My name is literally Black American made. Like, I am completely fine being a Black American, and you know, anything, because I know that like if I was in Africa right now, if you took me to the village, like this is where your great grandfather, you know, planted this tree, like I would think it was cool for like 30 seconds, and then I would feel uncomfortable. Like, I would just feel like, okay, I have no connection to this place, if I'm being honest.
I agree with you, and that's like kind of like your perspective, and that's fine to have. But it was like my church, their Baptist church, like takes people on a trip, and like a lot of people, they like feel transformed after going there, right? So it's like, for you, it may not be that experience, but let's not pretend it doesn't exist for other Black Americans.
And like, that's
Yeah,
the
I
thing.
mean-
I recognize the curiosity, and I recognize why people like want this, especially like being like an American descendant of slavery and shit. And like we talked about like how inhumane it was. You had your culture and your personhood ripped from you. Like, I understand, like you want that place. You want to kind of feel like you belong somewhere, and like you may not necessarily feel that attached to America like you do, Bam. Like, I can understand both sides of it. Like, I just like, my thing is simply like because like we were talking about this earlier, like the offensive part of it, where it's like it comes off as like that snipe, where it's like, oh no, I'm not Black, I'm just like that. Like, that's my only problem with it. Is like, is that an offensive thing? Like, it's a quick correction. I understand it might be tyrant, but like, it shouldn't be that offensive of a thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm of the camp of like, I mean, I'm adopted, so it's like I've always had a level of separation from like what it means to be black in the United States. And like I mean I've talked about this before on panels. Like I was very frustrated with the level of like anti-blackness that was within my family, just on my own birth family, where it's like my adopted mother, like she was very resistant about me understanding like who these people were, and she always painted this idea that like they weren't good people and that I wouldn't like what I found. And then I did it on my own, and it's like totally fine. Like I have brothers and sisters that live down in Sarasota, so I'm by proxy a Florida man. But it's like, but it's cool to know that like I have like family out there that's like, I have 2 sisters and a brother, they have kids, they're living their best life. And I think something, at least for adoptees specifically, I think that there should be a level of exploration that parents should allow for their children. And like we see kind of the consequences of that, where like if you don't allow or give children the opportunity to be able to explore this on their own, it could lead to very like weird roads, like questions about their identity, questions about who they are, which is kind of why personally I'm really much against like closed adoptions and stuff like that.
I like
Smooth, did you want to say something previously? You had been what you're trying.
Oh, so yeah, I wanted to ask y'all a question along the thing of heritage and ancestry. So a lot of black people, you see them use like, oh, we're kings, we're royalty, you know what I'm saying, like that type of thing or whatever. Do you guys find an inherent problem with that, like, or do you guys like that we use it to prop ourselves up in a way?
We appeal to Egypt, even though 99% of Black Americans have no connection to Egypt, like biologically or
like
socially. Like
I look at it from 2 aspects. I look at it from like the aspect that Bam just said it, and then like I look at it from like, and it's kind of a meme aspect, but like I have not heard like an answers like we was kangs and shit until we lost it and got enslaved. Cause like, you know, the whole slavery of Africa, like people go into the history of it, it's like, oh, but we sold each other. It's like, yeah, like we like, I can't buy the whole we was kang shit. Cause like, if we was kangs, that means I was on the losing side, and like my whole fucking line was on the losing side for a minute. And like, I don't know about that one. So like, maybe I can hop off that. Like, I understand the sentiment. Like, we come from great people. The continent of Africa wasn't just like people playing in mud. I get that. I will 100% vibe with that. But like, I can't link myself to Egypt. Like, I don't know if I come from the Timbuktu. I don't know if I'm related to Mansa Musa. Like, I'm gonna hold off on the we was Kang shit. Like, I don't know about that. Like, all I know is like my people was unfortunate enough to be caught in that transatlantic shit, and we ended up here. And now I identify with Tennessee, Arkansas, and Jamaica. That's all I know. Like, I can't fight that. Like,
Okay. Oh, well, I think was it Joe or as you have a final thing to say on this?
So I just like at the end of the day, I just like I'm okay when people try to differentiate themselves, because I understand, like, yes, intention is important, but at the end of the day, you just gotta let people be people. And there's a lot of trauma that we have to understand that went on for generations. And people want to identify with something, and they don't want to be linked with something, you know, for, you know, their own selfish reasons, whether it be good or bad. Like for me, I personally just say I'm Black American. I claim both. I'm Black American, and I got a little bit of indigenous. And they asked me what, and I said I ain't got no idea, but I know it's true. And I live my life, and people judge me for it, and I'll be like, you know what? And I've also seen people who will fight against, like, they'll know they'll have indigenous, but because they want to fit into the broader Black spectrum, they'll pull it off and like, nah, we don't talk about it. But your great grandmother is like, she clearly from such and such tribe. Like, you look at her, like she looked like everybody else. No, we don't talk about it. So I understand. Hopefully that was good. Like, I hope my audio isn't lacking.
No, you were fine. You were fine.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Perfect.